Oh, dude, Alan went in for this little title slide, didn't he?
Wow. Okay.
All right. Wait, Unionville, you think I need more than one sheet for your case?
Yeah, they said a couple.
A couple? Okay.
Oh, by the way, I guess just for judges, the way I flow a case, and it might help, is flow subpoint like C1 to through the end of subpoint A on one sheet, subpoint B on another, and then all the impact stuff on another. The impact stuff probably has, it should be separate.
The case is probably split into like thirds, honestly, between the subpoints and the impacts.
Yep.
So I'm flowing it all in one case, but I write really small, so.
Yeah, I'm doing it on 3, so it's up to you. 3 is like with like good space though.
Are we good?
I'm gonna shoot for 2 pieces of paper. We'll see if that changes.
No, we're not good yet.
I'm gonna try to do it on Excel so I don't have to do it all the fucking pages.
Honestly, I'm not really worried about times for cases, just because like we all have cases that are in time. If y'all need me to slow down, like I said, I'm gonna slow down.
David, have Skype open just for the chat.
Wait, how accessible are you trying to make this round to the whole community? Rather than
Not at all.
No, I think this round should function as like a good example of like a tech round. Like,
yeah, it's not going to be super fast. It's literally just 250.
Yeah, 250 is not. Yeah. Wait, John, you want Skype or do you want to just
Skype?
Here on the East Coast, if you go above 220, then you're going insane.
Dude, on the East Coast, if you go above like 100, like
if you read a card, you're like, just see ya.
Literally for our cases on the East Coast, we have to our cases are almost like usually 770 or something like that.
Yeah, no, even like our LAL cases are never above like 750, honestly.
Yeah, dude, on South Korea, we read a 690 case.
Yeah,
I know for Boca,
690. What the hell?
Yeah, I know for Boca we never read higher than 715.
Yeah, we never read higher than 715. Even for like tech round. Well, actually, that's not true. Sometimes when we hit we have a tech judge, Izzy will read like a DA or two as like a contention 1 and 3.
David, I might read Dodic as a case turn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mute your thing.
See, the thing is, sides because they didn't want to deal with all of our random. Little did they know we have those for neg too.
All right, fuck it. I'm flowing.
Oh fuck! Wait, I have to flow the.
Are you sure? Your computer might get really confusing.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean,
Your call, man. I warned you.
I love that Alan can just fucking mute people. And he feels like, what's up with that?
I'm the owner of the channel, so it's kind of how it works. So basically, Unionville the doc. David, did either of you share a speech doc?
Yeah, Dave will send it to you.
Alan, are you live streaming already, or are we gonna have to wait for people to join?
No, there's 92 people watching this interaction right now.
Yeah.
Oh wait, really?
Yeah.
I thought it says we're not live. It's off air. It's pretty misleading.
I know it says off air, but like I promise me that there's 92 people watching.
But it says we're not live.
Dude, this is about to be the first time that Alan goes truth over truth.
But like I promise me that there's 92. It just went down to 88.
It says we're not live.
Dude, this is about to be the first time that Alan goes truth over truth.
Yeah. I promise me that there's.
Yeah, there's a bad echo.
What is that? That's like terrible.
Yo, does anyone have? Does anyone like? There's feedback.
Yeah, is it
I see.
on my end because I opened up the YouTube.
Yeah.
It's good now.
David.
I was just trying to see if there are actually 90 people.
Dude, am I famous? Someone in the chat said David Kinane is a scoped assault rifle.
He's a scoped assault rifle.
Yeah, is anyone roasting it?
Wait, we don't even know if we're just getting roasted in this chat.
Wait, yeah. Big
All right,
question.
guys.
Where am I sending it?
Let's get started.
Yeah, send it to Alan. Put his email in the group chat.
Yeah,
Oh, he did?
please send a speech doc. My Wi-Fi is like pretty shoddy, so
Exactly.
I want to make
Little
sure
jumpers.
that like I can.
Alan, I don't type everything out, so I'm gonna be like mixing like analytics into my speech doc. Is that cool?
As long as like anything that you have typed out, just please post it on the doc so I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
sorry, I
with
zoned out.
that,
Wait, Alan, I zoned out. How am I sending it to you?
Somebody created. I think David created a doc or something.
Yeah, I shared it. Just put it on the case doc, I guess, at the very bottom of that. Yeah. I shared that with the judges as well.
Share it with me.
It's the Sallemont Jan NC script versus Unionville doc.
Gotcha.
I know, if you pull it up. I just don't have it up already. Yeah.
Okay.
And
right now.
gmail.com. Wait, Dave's sending a speech doc over.
Are we starting?
Yeah. Once we did the speech doc, Zach or do you want speech docs?
Wait,
John.
Dave's sending a speech doc over.
Yeah.
How'd you say to flow the case again? So everything through subpoint A on one sheet, and then what?
Okay, yeah. Subpoint A on one sheet, subpoint B on another, and then impact down.
I'm just hurry up with the speech doc.
I just saw an interesting chat message. It says, "Is there any way we can pull the audience to see who won?"
That would be fun.
Yeah, we can
I'll make a straw poll right now and drop a link.
But don't post it right now before the round.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna make it now, and then I'll share the link after the round.
Yeah, people would start voting now.
Yeah, people would definitely vote preemptively.
Yo, give me 1 sec. Since it's kind of like still early for me, I just want to make sure I'm not gonna have like an interruption mid-round.
Okay. Alan, I'm sending it in the body of the text.
All right, cool. Wait, what?
I'm emailing you a link, and I send it in the body of the text. I don't know who said who, what, or whatever.
Wait, Alan. Okay.
All right. So. David.
Yeah, I'm back.
David, either turn off the volume on your YouTube video.
Why do you have a YouTube video on?
No, guys, the volume on that's not me. Someone else has the volume on their YouTube up.
David, either turn off the volume.
Alan, I think that's you, man.
Yeah, that's definitely Alan.
The volume on that's not me. Someone else has the volume on their YouTube up.
Oh, yeah, that is me.
This kid's always like blaming it on others, huh?
David, turn your YouTube off.
Sorry, David.
Of course it's on.
Everyone watching, this is how our prep dynamic is. I'm basically just
No, that's not true. Alan never apologizes for abusing me. He only does that when he has an audience. John can confirm.
Yo, did you Unionville kid? Did you guys share me the case doc or speech?
Let's get started as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Alan, read that to whoever just asked.
Unionville, did you?
Who just asked for a speech doc?
Me, Zach.
And me.
Do you want to send your? Wait, do we have like a?
I emailed it to Alan. Alan, could you forward it to him?
I haven't gotten anything.
Someone said, "Imagine living in Alabama."
What?
Imagine.
imagine. I imagine.
I'll send an email to alangeorge@gmail.com.
Don't announce his email.
If they do, everyone has my email, my Gmail now.
The tragedy.
I'll put it in the Facebook chat.
I hope Alan gets this one to spam me.
Dave's just a dumbass.
God damn it. I apologize, Alan.
All right, Alan, you just have to get a new email now. No big deal.
Everyone in the chat, please spam Alan.
Oh boy, they're already making plans.
Don't crash Alan's internet. It's bad.
Yeah, we kind of need it.
I already have like 161,795 emails to read. Don't send me any more.
Wait, what? What?
They're all people asking to be posting videos.
As long as the stream doesn't get swatted, we'll be fine.
Are we ready?
Yeah, we're good.
Wait, I still don't have a speech doc.
Dude, Alan's gonna be that one judge who like forces the kids to send a speech doc. I'm truth over tech, but I still need a speech talk.
Or something because I sent it to you. The one-
Alan, check your spam folder or something like that.
Unionville, I put my email in the chat.
Wait, did you share it on Drive or did you email it to me?
I emailed it to you.
He emailed it.
Oh, that. Okay.
All right. Could I get this for a second?
Yeah.
Yo, Alan, you want to forward that?
Sue me.
Yeah. It's a pretty good case.
Is it actually?
Better than yours.
That's fair.
Oh yeah, I'm sending it to y'all.
Unmute. Are you unmuted?
Yeah, we're not muted.
All right. I sent it to all three of the judges.
But please, when you're not speaking, please have your microphone off.
Yep.
Or like please put yourself on mute. And then on my end, I will transition the video to whoever's speaking. All right.
Also, David Zell, not David. I'm just gonna like yell clear or something if I can't hear what you're saying, and just slow down and just finish your speech. Like just read the same shit slower.
Yeah, it's only a 900. It's like a 930 word case. Like it should be fine.
Just don't worry about the time if I can't hear you.
Yeah. I'll slow down and finish. Like, same for y'all. As long as y'all's case is like 930 or so.
All right. Are we all ready?
Yeah, let me mute myself.
So just for everyone's reference, again, Unionville is speaking first on the pro, and this is the Catalonia topic from January 2018. And David, you're the first speaker, right?
Yeah.
Wait, hold up.
All right.
Yeah, my blocks might have just like crashed. Hold on.
John, this is Berkeley all over again.
The implication is that John is using blocks.
No, I mean the file crashed. It's not. I don't know if any of it's useful.
Yeah, probably not. You got Alan DeSimmies.
Oh, Unionville is debating a hybrid team between Altamont CZ, David Zell, and Salle CN, John Nahas, who are both members of La Altamont Lane, or LOL. And their team is Sallemont.
Dude, Alan's gonna make a spectacular coach at Capital.
All right.
Oh, yeah, this video is sponsored by Capital Debate.
All three judges got the speech doc?
Wait, I'm not ready.
Wait, Alan. Well, in the meantime, I saw a comment on the chat that was like,
Yeah, I'm good as soon as you're ready.
how much money is Alan getting paid by Capital for this?
I'm not being paid a per amount for any work that I do for Capital and its promotion.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, yeah, I'm ready, guys. Let's get started.
Apple sponsored water bottles.
Yeah, I'm good too.
I'll link Capital merch at the end of the video. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, just for everyone watching, Amit's backup is Cornell. All right, I'm ready.
Guys,
Come on, just chill with the fucking Cornell.
I'm gonna make sure like I don't get interrupted during the round. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. John, you ready?
I guess David's not ready. So
Are you ready though?
Dude, there's always
yeah, I'm ready.
got your blog.
Russell, is that you?
Fuck you.
It's just not Russell.
I snapped Russell. I forget if he responded.
It's Russell's birthday.
Really? Tell him I said happy birthday. I'll probably tell him later.
Russell has not responded yet.
Unlucky.
He hates me. All right. How many sheets should I flow your stuff on?
Huh? 3.
3? Okay.
What the fuck?
Well, I would recommend subpoint A on 1, subpoint B on 1, subpoint C on 1, or impacts on 1.
All right.
Okay.
So, I presume since everyone here,
That's my stuff.
or everyone here is qualified with the TSA, they do know how to flow their case. So with that, John, if you could put yourself on mute, and David, you can start.
Because I'm going to focus on 3.
Just take this. I'll float on one sheet.
All right.
It's all good. I'll float on one sheet. I'll just go straight down.
Okay. Everyone good?
Wait. You know who that is?
No.
Oh, no, I'll tell you later. All right.
All right. Everyone good?
Let me mute myself. Oh, we're speaking first. Okay, yeah, cool.
Okay. So everyone's good? Everyone can hear me? Wonderful. With that, Reaffirm. Contention 1 is the civil war at Tilted Towers. Baddock 17 of Foreign Policy writes Spain has recently conducted violent raids in Catalonia that showcase Spain's newfound aggression in the region. As a result, Parisha Gentium law writes that the majority of ethno-territorial disputes about secession result in civil war, and thus he finds that the Catalan crisis is more likely than not to result in one. This would be catastrophic as the civil war in the 30s killed 200,000 people, affirming stops this by solving the issue peacefully. Contention 2 is bad politics. Elliot 17 of the University of London explains that before the Catalonia crisis, the People's Party had extremely low ratings. Unfortunately, Hedgeco 17 of Politico finds that the issue has helped the party shore up its voter base, win votes, and get into power. And Alvarez 17 of the Economist finds this strategy is why they won elections today. The rise of the People's Party is detrimental for two reasons. First is renewable energy. Dine 16 of Green Tech Media writes that the centerpiece of the party's energy policy has been eliminating renewable subsidies and taxing solar, wind, and hydro systems. This is problematic because Mortimer 16 of the Independent predicts that Spain will eventually be 100% renewable, but increased costs from these policies are ruining that goal. This is able to reduce the amount of local air pollution, which according to the EEA 15 kills 30,000 Spaniards per year. Second is corruption. Favor 17 of Oberlin College writes that the Catalan crisis has covered up the rampant corruption within the People's Party. In fact, Caso Aislados finds that out of all money lost from corruption from political parties in Spain, the People's Party is disproportionately more corrupt, making up 85% of all corruption losses, losing a total of 120 billion euros. Overall, Eliot continues that the people don't like the People's Party because of political deadlock, corruption, and bad policy. However, they reluctantly give them their vote on this one issue. Quijone 17 of Wall Street writes, defending Spain's territorial unity is a vital vote winner for the party's core supporters. By affirming, we break Spanish territorial unity, which is the only reason why this party is in power, and stop all of the current harms. The ICIS 15 finds that opposition parties in Spain firmly support renewable energy, and Caso Aislados finds that other political parties in Spain are much less corrupt than the People's Party. Contention 3 is refugees. The PRI finds in 2017 that Catalonia is a country that is full of refugees. In fact, Palmer 17 of the University of Pompeii finds that the Catalan government and people are ready to host refugees. Kalu 16 of the local writes that they are ready at the technical level, all of their services are ready, and residents are waiting with open arms, but they don't arrive. This is because Hoffman 16 of writes that as much as they fight, Catalonia can do nothing because the federal government of Spain is in charge of refugee intake, and unfortunately, the BBC 17 finds that Spain has only accepted 6% of the refugees they pledged to take 3 years ago. In response, the ACN writes in 2017 that Catalan government institutions stated they can take in 4,500 refugees, but unfortunately, Spain shut this down and accused Catalonia of adding more situation or problems to the situation. Granting Catalonia independence would allow for these refugees to be taken in, as Palmer furthers that Catalonia is ready to host refugees whenever they are given the opportunity to do so. The impact comes from the European Commission in 2017, who writes that the resettlement of refugees in most cases means the difference between life and death. Contention 4 is terrorism. Unfortunately, Minder of Oxford writes that with the first terrorist attack in years in August, Catalonia has become a magnet for terrorist recruiters. And as Sky News explains, that 40% of Spanish terrorism arrives from Catalonia. This is for 3 reasons. First is through human rights abuses. The Human Rights Watch reports that counterterrorism operation to be successful, it must be carried out with respect to human rights. Unfortunately, they find that Spain's anti-terrorism programs, especially those allied with the Moroccan forces, have many human rights violations, which Minder of Oxford confirms are still occurring today. Affirming removes the
Yo, I can't hear the case. Yo.
Did you mute your mic?
Yeah, it says PF videos muted him. I lost you at the Spanish forces bad.
All right. Well, where's that?
It was like the working in conjunction, like fuels terrorism.
Was it on the first link, human rights abuses?
Yeah, I didn't catch it.
All right, I'll restart that link.
Go restart the link.
Yeah.
Everyone good?
I need to mute myself.
It's fine. Time doesn't really matter. Just finish the link.
Cool. The first and 3 human rights abuses, the Human Rights Watch reports that for counterterrorism operations to be successful, it must be carried out with respect to human rights. Unfortunately, they find that Spain's anti-terrorism programs, especially those allied with Moroccan forces, have many human rights abuses, which Minder of Oxford confirms are still occurring today. Affirming removes the Spanish forces, which is crucial because Walsh UNC finds that an increase in respect for human rights by the government decreases terrorism by at least 17%. The second is through a distraction. Strain 17 of the Telegraph writes that Catalan politicians are divided by the independence crisis, which is stopping them from focusing on the growth of the terrorism within their own country. As a result, terrorist groups have chosen Catalonia as breeding ground for extremism. Third is ineffective cooperation. The Economist 17 finds that it is impossible for the counterterrorism unit in Catalonia to interact with the Spanish government, as tensions with Spain's government do not allow for them to interact normally with the national forces. In fact, Politico 17 cites that the recent Barcelona attack highlighted the toxic effects of the Spanish government's political agenda has had, as it prevents regional police officers from accessing crucial information in the Europol database, which means they cannot identify potential threats and radicalization efforts. Overall, Livesey Frontline magazine writes that terrorists that are moving into Catalonia have attacked over 30 different places, a number that is only increasing. This spills over, as Politico finds that Spain is allowing politics to prevail over security, which affects Spain's potential to cooperate over security with other European partners.
Yeah, it's done.
Wait, okay, so I kind of had, hold on, sorry. I had a distraction. I might need you to repeat the second warrant because I missed it. Like my audio cut out. Just give me a second, sorry. Okay, yeah, could you just repeat C2 or warrant 2 about distraction?
Yep. Strain 17 of the Telegraph writes, Catalan politicians are divided by the independence crisis, which is stopping them from focusing on the growth of terrorism within their own area. As a result, terrorist groups have chosen Catalonia as a breeding ground for extremism.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, I was short.
Okay, I missed the first sentence. That's why I was confused.
Cool.
All right. Good
Okay.
for the neg.
Yeah.
Is this on? So you said this is on 3 different sheets.
I mean, like that was John's recommendation. I floated on one, but
Yeah. I'll float on one.
Can you fit it on one?
I think so. But I write pretty small.
All right. I'll try.
Like once you're done with subpoint A, like it should be about a third of the case. So like if you're exceeding a third of your flow, just switch. Wait, John, do you want to run prep or no?
Yeah, let me get my timer, and I don't need to like consult you about anything unless you have something, in which case I'll call you.
Wait, yeah, I don't need to talk to you about anything right now.
Okay, so I'll take a little bit.
David, are you ready to read case?
Okay.
John's running prep.
That was 18.
All right, everybody good?
Yeah, I should be good, bro. Let me just mute myself.
All right. Is there a speech doc that you sent us?
Who's talking right now? Unionville?
Yeah.
I don't think you'll need one, but I'll share you on the here.
All right. Cool.
This is gonna be kind of like ratchet, but I'm just gonna like Facebook message you the case.
On.
I'll drop it in the chat we were all in earlier.
Okay.
Okay. All right. It should be in y'all's Facebook.
Ooh.
All right. Is-
Wait, I'll scroll to the top. Yeah, we good.
All right. Is everyone ready?
Yep.
All right. Sallemont negates our sole arguments collapsing Catalonia. Subpoint is economics versus infrastructure. Henley 17 of The Guardian explains that an independent Catalonia would need to establish critical infrastructure such as buildings and transportation in order to persist as a state. Problematically, Capro 17 of The Telegraph finds that Catalonia would be locked out of debt markets and thus forced to default on its debt to Spain, crippling its economy. Thus, Wimmer 17 of the I News concludes that Catalonia cannot afford this basic infrastructure, which is the prerequisite to a functioning nation. Second is revenue. Polo 13 of the University of Barcelona explains that the largest market for Catalan producers is the rest of Spain. Unfortunately, Anderson 04 of Boston College finds that having to trade across an international border has additional costs associated with customs and policy barriers. Thus, Moore 13 of the University of Edinburgh explains that the mere act of establishing an international border between Catalonia and Spain would result in an 80% decrease in trade between the two nations and an 8% decrease in Catalan GDP. Moreover, Polo finds that the decreased production as well as the lowered prices to remain competitive would cause significant cuts in wages, employment, and the number of businesses. Thus, even if Catalonia remained in the EU, the absence and restructuring of institutions following independence would result in structural unemployment, leading the Cal 12 of the ISE Business School to find that Catalonia would lose over 350,000 jobs and see a recession lasting at least 5 years. Third is pensions. Polo explains that the government would see a significant decrease in tax revenue post-independence, forcing them to cut spending on pensions. Lacal confirms that after independence, Catalonia would be forced to sever pensions due to paralyzing debt obligations. Thus, Sylvester 17 of the University of Granada finds that an independent Catalonia's pension system would not recover until at least 2088. Gillen 11 of the University of Oviedo finds that pensions are the primary mechanism for reducing poverty in Spain, having reduced the poverty rate by nearly 75%. Overall, Rubini 14 of NYU writes that economic failure is followed by strong backlash, allowing economic nationalism and political instability to take root, which is why Collier 04 of Oxford University quantifies that a 1% drop in economic growth increases the probability of conflict by 1%. Subpoint B is politics. First is isolation. Capro 17 of The Telegraph reports that nations across the globe would isolate a new Catalonia out of fear of legitimizing independent movements within their own countries. Thus, Enlin 18 of BI finds that no independent country would recognize the new state and it would be shunned by the EU, UN, and NATO. Amidst this isolation, he finds that Catalonia would become a failed state marred by economic crisis and political catastrophe. Second is fracturing. Birnbaum 17 of the Washington Post explains that pro-independence coalition currently controlling Catalonia's government consists of an extremely polarized group of far-left and far-right politicians who can only agree on the issue of independence and nothing else. That's problematic because Gar 17 of Brown finds that upon independence, this coalition would quickly fracture into ideological lines, rendering proper governments impossible, leaving the nation in political turmoil. Third is backlash. Gunterman 18 of the University of Montreal reports that only 27% of Catalans strongly support independence, demonstrating a deeply polarized society. Unfortunately, Colony 17 of the CSIS finds that due to a significant portion of Catalonia that opposes secession, there would be significant discord if independence were granted. Morado 16 of the University of Pompefabra writes that independence without a majority support would inevitably lead to internal violence between separatists and unionists, dooming the state to failure. The cumulative impact is state failure. Brennan 17 of the University of Barcelona concludes that Catalonia could not exist as an independent state because it would experience a drastic economic collapse and political instability. Indeed, Sarasquio 9 of Duke University empirically verifies that secessionist states have a 90% probability of experiencing violent conflict, most commonly involving a civil war that kills hundreds of thousands. Moreover, Star 08 of USC quantifies that the state failure increases the probability of civil war by 45% and the odds of international conflict by 115%. Independence is a waiting game, and granting it now would ensure disaster. Kingsley 17 of the New York Times finds that secessionist movements have awakened Spanish nationalists. Post-independence, the right-wing Rajoy administration would either appease the right-wingers who oppose Catalan secession, or Rajoy would be replaced in the next election by right-wing politicians. Either way, Oscom 14 of Senate University finds that Spanish nationalists would retaliate against the Catalan independence, thus creating a hostile border between the countries. Thus, Betancourt 17 of the University of Barcelona concludes that there's less than a 5% chance of an amicable divorce. Fortunately, negating ensures peace in the short and long term. The AP 18 reports that 71% of Catalans would prefer negotiating with Spain to declaring independence. Lechera 17 of the CFR confirms that Spanish administration is keen on making fiscal concessions to Catalonia now, with constitutional reform down the road. If negotiations eventually do fail, however, Gal concludes that if a vast majority of Catalans supported independence, Spain would be forced to accept its inevitability. Antico 7 of the University of Zagreb finds that if a very high percentage of a population supports it, any suppression from the central government would be fruitless, and the central government would act peacefully within the new country. Preserve peace, prevent collapse, and negate.
Okay. Can you unmute yourself?
Oh yeah. Oh, we're already unmuted, so we're good.
All right.
You're welcome to the first question.
Cool. Let me get my
time now.
All right. So on like your sub point B, a lot of the evidence is based on like generic fracturing of states and like separatism. So where have like we seen the backlash cause like state collapse in other areas?
What are you talking about?
So, for example, subpoint, like your third warrant for your subpoint B, it says that some people oppose and some people are like for independence.
The difference here is going to be like fiat, right? Like I would contend that throughout history, there have like a country has never given independence to a nation or like a subset of people within that nation that didn't want it, right? Like our GAR evidence is pretty good on this issue. It says that the only times that countries grant independence to another country is when like an overwhelming majority of the people want
it.
Your evidence is pretty explicit in saying that only 27% of Catalans support it. So I would say that fiat generates a unique situation.
The impact evidence you read is not based off of one country recognizing another as independent. It's just like it's like the historical example that you just talked about. So it's not like the same thing.
I mean, like you would need to show me why it's different, right? The Sarasquio evidence indicates.
I think it's pretty clear. Like for example, state conflict. So if let's say like Montenegro or Kosovo like separated from their own country beforehand, we didn't see like sure some people were for it, some people were against it. There was no like state failure within those areas.
Right. That's because the proportion of people within those nations exceeded like I'm not going to give like an arbitrary bright line, but the overwhelming majority of people supported.
A lot of it was paralyzed.
That's why the movements were successful. Fiat generates a unique scenario in which you see independence with people who don't actually want it. But we've been on this for a minute and 40 seconds. Can I have a question?
Go for it.
Okay. How many people are dying daily in refugee camps? Like the people that you bring into Catalonia, like how many of them are dying over the last, like month or two? Like what is the death rate?
I don't know about that.
Like, what is the difference between life and death? Have they all died since like they got into the camp?
No, what the argument is that if the longer they stay in their camp, the more likely they're going to die in these camps because oftentimes they're not efficient. So even like even if not like 100% of them die, I'd say like still saving those lives and like bringing them into other areas where
how are you saving their lives if you don't read any evidence that indicates how many are dying?
Do they have a greater chance of dying in refugee camps or if they're in Catalonia?
So are you going to collapse on like a probability of death argument without it, like any evidence?
Evidence that says it's life or death. But can I ask you a question?
Isn't that evidence just kind of like rhetorical? Like, doesn't it say, quote, like it can mean the difference between life and death? Like, not all refugees are dying every day.
It does in most cases. But can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay. So if Catalonia becomes independent, will they use the euro?
Will they use the euro? Like, I don't have a crystal ball. Like, I don't know.
Would you advocate that they do, or would you say like they use like their own thing, or like make a cryptocurrency or something like that? Was it the euro?
I mean, like I can't really give like a counter plan or an advocacy, considering that you're the one advocating like independence. That's
if you
want to analyze like a scenario after independence, it's probably like your job to propose like what currency they're going
They most likely use it.
like. I don't know. Make an argument and we'll respond to it. That's the end of cross.
Dave, did you read dialogue or did you cut that out?
He read it.
You read it at the bottom, or I didn't catch that part. Oh, I was talking to Zell.
Oh, sorry, I was not.
Yeah.
What did you ask me?
You said you were gonna read dialogue earlier. Did you or no?
We don't read. We read we read isolation, fracturing, and backlash.
Wait, David is talking about the bottom of case.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Repeat your question.
Associated Press, Lasher's Gower. Did you get to that?
Yeah. No, I read that.
Yeah. Okay.
The bottom of the case was. Yeah, you got it.
Want a little bit of prep.
Okay.
David, check Skype.
Really quickly, John needs y'all's third warrant, just like a one-sentence explanation of that. Someone on Unionville.
We'll just like call for it.
Yeah,
we don't cards.
we were muted. 1 sec. So it's literally just that like Spain doesn't give Catalonia access to a lot of like kind of crucial.
Can you just shoot me the paraphrase over Facebook?
For sure. Yeah. Dave will send it to you. And Alan,
Yeah, just like whatever David sent to y'all, like same thing.
Yeah, I just sent them like the rhetoric of the case.
Yeah. So same thing.
Okay.
Pull up Facebook.
Yeah, Alan, do you need my speech doc or you're muted right now? Oh, yikes.
All right, I sent it in our group chat.
I don't think Alan can hear. Or if he's speaking, he's muted. Yeah, no, you're muted, Alan.
No, I'm not trying to say anything. Sorry, I'm just like laughing at like. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Do you need a speech doc for my rebuttal?
If you could send me what you're gonna read, like what I said, fantastic. Because I know like y'all's case writing was.
Can I just like dump this in the chat?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah,
feel like
the quickest way to send the speech doc, we just put it in the Facebook chat.
yeah. That works. All right. Let me. Yeah, I think.
Oh shit!
What?
It's so long.
It's pretty long. I'm gonna read like
All right, there we go.
relatively fast. It's still under 1,000 words, but let me know if you can't hear me though.
Do me a solid and slow on tags.
Give me 1 sec to like copy and paste this into a doc because I don't want to read from my Facebook. Jesus. Like select blocks from your block file, or do you just like control all?
Sorry, wait, what?
Bro, this is so long.
Oh, it's long as shit. It's 987 words.
Wait, your rebuttal is?
Yes. With like analytics, it'll be like 1,000. I'm not
you-
actually I'm more than 13 words of analytics. So like,
Wait, are you sharing that doc with us?
He's dropping
put it
sketch it.
in the Facebook thing.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
It's on a verbatim doc, so I don't know if I have like.
You open it
What?
like.
I literally have people. Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Let me paste it out of this into like something I can read, and then I'll be good to go.
Wait, I need like 2 minutes. Just give me 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. We'll just wait.
See how this chat's going.
The chat.
Yeah, the chat.
Oh, I thought we were getting flamed.
think we're getting flamed.
We got flamed on Reddit too.
Wait, shoot. I literally copy and pasted my case.
Right, if people are like texting me and shit, asking to be added, like multiple people to the email.
Do not.
I can't add people to the email chain and shit. That should make it double as long.
Yeah, that's gonna take way too long. Like, sorry.
Like it'll be, if it's an issue, someone just yell, like it's under 1,000 words, someone just yell clear or something like that, then I'll slow down.
Clear because they don't have like a microphone.
No, you, y'all, it's one of you.
Oh,
Andrew's roasting me. Nah, Canaan gets carried in debate and Fortnite.
Oh, there's people from our school. Alan, you good?
just about one more minute. Sorry.
Oh, good. Let me just make sure this is on the right order.
Wait, hold on. I can't.
What?
Can you send your rebuttal like in a Word document in the chat? Because it's not letting me copy paste.
Yeah, for sure. I can just here. I'll save it and email you the link.
Yeah.
David, if you just hold the mouse button down and then hit Control-C, it should copy.
I keep doing that, and then it keeps copying.
David, it's like 1,000 words. Like, do you really need a speech doc?
No, it'd just be helpful, and I don't want to have to ask for one in the middle of the round.
Okay, so I might as well do the same then.
Yeah. Yeah.
30 more seconds.
Yeah, just put it in a Word doc and drop it. That'd be way more helpful.
I'm telling everyone in the chat to add me on Fortnite. I better get 1,000 friend requests.
Why is the chat only on? I'm gonna get some Instagram followers.
Oh wait, David, drop mine to you.
What's your,
Instagram. What is here's John.nah.
Yeah.
Is it John.na?
NAH. First 3 letters.
All right, I'm about to send like an attachment.
Okay, sounds good. Well, in that case, I'm gonna use the restroom for like really quick.
Yeah.
Our whole team's here.
Really?
Start the round.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna read the wrong block file again. I'm gonna read A2 con shit.
The difference is gonna be that we're gonna read severance theory. So
yeah.
If you read the wrong blocks.
Max said, "Why don't I see white boys on my screen?"
What is that?
Where's my block?
Yeah, I still haven't gotten the rebuttal doc, by the way.
Yeah, I just saved it. I'm looking for it in my
Okay.
It didn't come up.
Are you just going top down in your rebuttal?
Yeah.
Or is it?
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna start on a 4-part 3-minute overview that will be extended throughout the round.
Okay.
Wait, are you serious?
No. Oh, wait, sorry, no memeing. Yeah, no, I'm just going straight down the case.
All right. I don't think John's here.
No, John went to the bathroom,
Okay.
but
Did you send it?
yeah, no, I'm still. It's on my desktop. It's still on.
It's cool. It's cool.
Oh,
There are analytics that aren't in the speech doc, correct?
Wait, I'd appreciate it.
John, David, I'll send it to you as an email.
Yeah,
I'm sending a speech doc in like a minute. Let me just.
Must be
John, it's okay. I got it. I just sent it.
I think it just.
Oh, we both sent it at the same time.
It's loading, so I don't know if it did send it out.
David have an Insta? Which David?
David Canaan or David?
I think my Insta.
Are you ready to go now? Oh, John, is this your speech doc?
That's yeah. This is mine so far. There's a lot of analytics.
Oh,
Okay.
Is it in Facebook?
Yeah, it's just like 600 words of like cards or whatever. I might also frontline, so
John, could you send that doc as an email because I just reinstalled OS and I don't have Word at the moment.
Alan, can you?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
How do I download a doc from Facebook?
You just click on it and it'll come up. It like
It's not loading. God damn
no,
it.
it's pretty shitty. But
Well, you don't need to load my doc.
Yeah, no. I'm just
Oh,
asking.
wait, I got it. I got it, y'all. All right, I just sent it to Maya and Zach. All right, can we start now?
Yeah. I mean, let me mute myself. But
Everyone-
I'm good.
I'm running this.
I don't have this. Can you like flash that to me?
How do I fucking flash it to you?
There's a button that says USB.
Come on.
All right, now hit the USB button.
Yeah, there's no USB button.
Oh, because you didn't open it verbatim. You
no,
just download it to the USB drive then.
I don't know how to do this.
I'm docking your speaks.
Trust the process.
Oh no, Alan Hubbard speaks.
Yeah,
What do you do when I get a 20?
as long as Speaks aren't a voter.
I'm sending this atrocity to Cornell.
Hey,
And it's just getting.
I'll send them an email that just reaffirms that I'm not interested.
I broke your computer.
Come on, David. Oh my God.
Oh, here we are.
We're printing the document.
I know. I tried printing it and then saving
This
it.
David thing is too confusing. I don't know who anyone's talking about.
Just use the last names, please.
Yeah, I'm.
Everyone from now on,
No, it's-
call the Alabama David. Call him Zell from now on. It's just-
Yeah, I'm super confused. What are we waiting on?
John, can you like?
We're waiting on Dave. David
Yeah,
can't
it's fine,
download
it's
your
fine.
speech doc.
I
No,
can
I
do
got.
that.
When I got the speech dog.
Talking about
Oh, shit, wait. All right, David Kinane cannot download the speech doc off of Facebook.
Can you email it to me?
Can you
Wait.
email it?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll type my email in the chat.
Dude, I forgot what you guys ran already.
Yeah, dude, shit.
Dude, I forgot what we were on.
Something about terrorism, which I have no blocks to. Here, let me see.
Like,
What does mean Colin can actually give an analytic rebuttal?
No, dude, I actually do that all the time.
oh yeah.
They're just not good analytics.
No, John, remember the plan is that you just make it impossible for me to fuck up in summary. So you gotta give a good rebuttal, man.
Yep.
John just wants to humiliate me.
Dude, let's just concede the ass.
Please start.
I think I'm ready. If everyone-
All right.
Zell.
I'm ready.
I'm good.
Everyone's good. Wait, let me make sure I'm not muted or anything. Yeah, everyone's good.
Just top down, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's start. In the first subpoint A about the economy, 2 general overview responses. First, Michael Stoddard of Financial Times notes in 2017 that independence would mean $21 billion more in tax revenue retained by Catalonia, which would be invested in infrastructure to boost economic growth. That's why Nuri Bosch of Barcelona University writes that independence would mean an increase in Catalan GDP by 8.5%. By my evidence over there is on probability because Angela Herman of Barcelona University finds in a survey of economic experts that 73% believe that independence will boost the Catalonia's economy in the long run. But second, no impact will ever manifest because Silvero Amaro of CNBC finds in 2017 that because the Catalonia would continue to use the euro, if the economic situation would get too bad, the European Central Bank would step in and inject money into the system to spur economic growth and to be especially able to because of recent policy changes increasing the effectiveness on the first subpoint about infrastructure. First, there's no impact. Nuri Bosch of Barcelona University finds in 2014 that even after paying to establish institutions, Catalonia would have a budget surplus of 14 billion euros from independence. But secondly, turn it because it would create jobs. Joseph Pedro of the Commission of Catalan Economy finds that setting up these institutions would create 71,000 new jobs. Then on the border effect was their second thing about revenue. First, Bosch of University of Barcelona finds in 2014 this effect would take years and years to materialize. So the actual loss of the economy is a fraction of a percentage point, which could easily be made up for. She responds to this card that they read about 80% and says the evidence is ridiculous. But secondly, there simply wouldn't be a border because Go to 17 writes that 55% of Spain's exports physically go through the infrastructure in Catalonia, like railways. Spain needs to keep no actual border because Catalonia is their access point to the rest of Europe. But then on the third point about pensions, one, this argument relies on Catalonia's economy doing poorly. They need to win that internal link first. But secondly, Catalonia gets a net $16 billion in taxes from separating Spain. They could use that. But third, it wouldn't make sense that they would have to build up a fund over time, which is what their evidence says, which is why it won't happen until 2080, 2088. But in the U.S., when FDR set up our welfare system, he started by putting a bunch of money in a fund, and starting with that makes a lot of sense that they would do that too. But fourth, you can turn it because Hermer of the University of Barcelona writes the writes that the economists who believe that independence will have an effect on Catalonia's pension system, a majority of them believe that the effect will be positive. But then on their subpoint B about politics, the first thing is about not getting access to the EU. One, there's no impact because Hughes at the TNW and Catalan Monitor both write that if Catalonia didn't get access to the EU, it's extremely feasible they could join the EFTA, European Economic Community, or other trade collectives and avoid the harms. But secondly, the EU countries would have to accept Catalonia because they would never be able to let them fail. Product from East West writes that Catalonia would continue to use the euro even if it became independent, even without EU consent, like two other regions that seceded, Kosovo and Montenegro, currently do. The euro currency connects the economies of all the EU countries. So if Catalonia failed economically while using the euro, all the other countries would be devastated too, and the currency exchange rate would take a huge hit. They wouldn't let that happen. But third, realize that regardless of whether Catalonia is in the EU, what's important that the law dictates that they will stay in the single market, which is the tariff-free trade zone of Europe. It requires a unanimous vote to kick a country out of the single market, which wouldn't happen. That's why Alvexa News reports in 2017 that legal experts agree that Catalonia would not have to leave the European single market even if it was kicked out of the EU. But then on their second thing about fracturing, one, you can turn it, an independent Catalan government would be able to shift more to renewable energy. Head of Energy News writes that independent Catalonia would be unified on renewables, able to shift to a recently proposed plan for the National Covenant for Energy Transition to make Catalonia 100% renewable by 2050. Their argument only strengthens ours, as a divided government will pass bills that they agree on because that's all they can pass, which would make this extremely likely. But secondly, right now parties can get votes by appealing to calls for independence, but once independence happens, these parties would have to develop actual platforms with positions on key issues to keep getting reelected, so policies would be passed, there would be platforms. But third, Catalonia was basically a completely autonomous region before 2010, and there's the government ran fine, and they're still pretty autonomous now. This just isn't an applicable argument. But fourth, all the parties in the new government have a common goal of being a successful new country. It's politically unlikely that they fight so much that they'd freeze over the country. Then on their third point about backlash, first, a pro-independent, they've had a pro-independence majority for 15 years. People obviously support independence, so there's not going to be a backlash against it. Then they said there's internal violence, make them prove that they reach a bright line for legitimate conflict to happen. People aren't just mad about the issue, but they'll fight for it. And secondly, there's literally only 2 guns for every 1,000 people in Catalonia. There wouldn't be internal violence. But fourth, really right now they're polarized, but there isn't violence, so it's extremely unlikely that the independence issue itself is enough to spur people to violence. On the impacts of state failure, remember that civil conflict does not equal state failure. They don't reach the bright line, and the threshold for their 90% violent rate, recidivism rate of civil war, the threshold for violence in that study is literally 10 deaths. On the Spanish nationalism, they lose their voting issue. That wouldn't happen. On dialogue, one, it's not going to happen because Martí Fabio University writes in 2018 that Spain's government remains unwilling to cut any sort of deal. That's why even in the 3 months later after they started going to negotiations, they still don't have regional autonomy. But second, you turn the impact, because even if dialogue does happen, it sucks. Because if Rajoy succeeds in preserving Spain through dialogue, then he and the Popular Party would preserve Spanish unity and just get more support because that's a platform he ran on. That just leads to more bad policy. All right.
So,
can everyone hear that? Is that
What did you say?
I don't know.
you can hear that, right? That was mainly.
John,
Yeah, I got booted at the end, but I caught your rebuttal. I guess my only question is, David. Yeah, okay, cool. He's calling me.
I haven't got the speech doc yet.
Here, do you need this?
Yeah, I need that, but.
A2 right wing plus juicy offense.
John, are you sending the speech doc? He's on
You
mute.
just want to frontline on here?
Well, because you need it to flow.
Yeah. Is John muted right now? Or?
Yeah.
So we can't hear him. All right.
Oh. John.
Okay, we're good.
All right. Can you send me the speech doc?
Did you send it to him? Or,
What's up?
John's muted.
I dropped my email in the group chat on Facebook. Can you email me the speech doc? Because I cannot open it through Facebook.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I had the volume muted. Wait, is John running prep?
No, I'm sending him a speech doc.
Oh, okay. Send it to me as well.
Wait, it's in the Facebook chat, bro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. I am good. If y'all are good. Is anyone waiting on anything?
Speech doc.
I emailed it to you.
Okay, let me see if I got it. Yeah, I got it. Let me download it real quick.
John, is the order just straight down, or are you frontlining too?
Okay, so it's gonna be, I'm gonna frontline the gradualism stuff, and then I'm gonna go top
Wait,
down.
John, let me call you. I want to run a little bit more prep, actually. This is important.
Okay. Hold on. Hello. It's fine. David? It's fine, this guy. Doesn't really matter. I don't know if we're like keeping track, but I mean that was a little more. Okay.
Yeah, it like doesn't matter.
Yeah, because I think
We're ready when you guys are.
Okay, so again, it's gonna be. Let me just organize my papers so it's not like messy. But it's gonna be bottom of our case, and then y'all's case, and then if I somehow have time, back to my case, and I'll just signpost at that point. Okay.
John, let me confirm one more thing. So you're starting with negotiations and then their case?
Yeah, negotiations at the bottom, the 2 responses they read, their case, maybe back to our case.
Sounds good.
Is the video good and everything else?
All right, just one more time for the order. I completely zoned out.
Yeah, it's fine. It's going to be the negotiations, the 2 responses they read at the bottom, top down their case,
Order.
and then back to ours if we have time. I probably won't though, because it's like we're not going to like, yeah. Okay, cool. Let me just get back to my document. If the video works, if everyone could just mute themselves. Cool. And yeah, if the audio cuts out, just holler at me. Okay, cool. If everybody's ready, let's start the time now. The second response they make is essentially that if Rajoy actually engaged in negotiations, that's only going to bolster his platform, but realize he would lose support because it shows that he's capitulating the Catalan government, which means that we turn the link of their case. But then the first response they make is that the government is unwilling, but we read evidence from Lashers that says in the medium to long term, in the next couple of months, gradualism will happen. Rajoy is playing the waiting game, but it will happen in the long term, which is why the Spanish government is making shifts towards gradualism and the status quo. We still link in there. At that point, go to the top of their case. Their first contentions about civil war. Cross-apply the gradualism evidence, which indicates that 71% of people support gradualism and the status quo. That essentially means we short-circuit their argument. The conflict does not have to be violent. If we engage in gradualism, we avoid the conflict that they talk about. If anything, they'll realize that affirming increased nationalism abroad. Kingsley of the New York Times in 2017 finds that nationalist movements feed off of each other, creating a positive feedback loop. Aries of the University of Indianapolis in 2014 quantifies that when a separatist movement goes from unsuccessful to successful, the chance of another group succeeding increased by 38%. Unfortunately, Sorotsky of Duke University from case says that this increased conflict 90% of the time. Fortunately, rejecting nationalism by negating Saul, as Aries empirically concludes that the most important step to solving separatist movements for states is to oppose their efforts in their own separatist groups. So what we see is that the probability of civil war in Catalonia is low, but the probability uniquely goes up for other nations, which means that the propensity for civil war on probability outweighs on our side. Then they try to make this argument at the bottom, they're going to have a peaceful secession, but they can't fee off that. The Hedgeco evidence says that the probability of that is 5%. Let's go to their second contention, though. First of all, a general link level response. They can just blame other political issues in Catalonia. They don't tell you why it has to be the Catalan crisis. If anything, we'd argue that Catalonia seceding gives them more ammunition to blame the political issue, because they're going to see how Catalonia is becoming independent. They're going to blame all of their political platform on combating this newly independent Catalonia, which means that we solve there. If anything, though, we're going to be turning the link, because nationalism will ravage both Spain and Catalonia in the case of independence. First, Favor the Nation 2017 explains that polarization surrounding the issue of secession has become a power ladder. Politicians aiming to push radical agencies are running out of campaigns based on secession to get in office. If independence is granted, these new radical parties will be legitimized, leading to a new brand of Catalonian right-wing nationalism sweeping the government. Second, sidebar for the University of Cambridge in 2017 explains that Catalonia constitutes a left-leaning bloc in parliament, meaning after independence, the political ties in Spain are likely to shift towards right-wing nationalism, which means that we turn the internal link. Then their first argument is about eliminating renewables, but they're necessarily a double blind. Either A, renewables are popular in the status quo, in which case they're always going to be implemented, or they're not popular, but if the Catalan crisis goes away in their world, they're still going to push for it. Like, they're not showing you a concrete reason why the political dynamic changes in the status quo. If anything, we outweigh the argument, though, because there's a civil war and the infrastructure is destroyed. Renewables can't happen. Let's go to their second link about corruption. Realize again, A, they can cover it up with anything. Their Favor evidence literally concludes for our side. Favor says that the reason why corruption exists in the status quo is the rise of Catalonia. That's all it says. At that point, Catalonia is going to rise even in independent worlds, especially if there's going to be conflict, which means that the discourse still gets diverted either way. You don't give them access there. Muni 17 of Harvard indicates that unity in the status quo is key to ensuring European stability. They only trigger a civil war, which means that, again, we short circuit their argument in terms of probability. Then go to their argument on refugees. First, for some link defense. First, Catalonia will literally be a new nation. That's prioritize other things like developing a stable government first. The second, politicians only support refugees because they think they can use them as a way to attract support for independence. That's why Belantes of Counterpunch in 2017 finds that Catalonia's pro-independence movement has failed to substantially distinguish its policies towards refugees from Spain. At that point, they lose the link. If anything, turn the argument against them, because recognize that while Catalonians may support accepting refugees right now, nationalism will do both Spain and Catalonia's refugee policy in the world of independence. On the Catalan side, this happens because of fueling extremism. The AF advocates for lump sum acceptance of refugees as part of an independent Catalonia. However, Denis of Oxford University in 2016 explains that when a country changes policies of gradual refugee inflow, suddenly it fuels anti-immigrant blowback. And Hanal BC Davis finds that this leads to backlash, which leads to increasingly conservative policymaking, which gives us a linkage to their case. Let's go to their last contention on terrorism first. Realize that Rebecca Caro of El País in 2017 finds that lack of communication between the Spanish and Catalan force leaves room for similar attacks this year in Barcelona. Kern 2012 finds that independent Catalonia would be ground zero because they literally have no military, so recruitment goes up. Now, after the Washington Post finds that a third of Spain convicted counterterrorism were caught in Catalonia. Their first link specifically is about human rights abuses, but realize that the argument is non-unique. Spain's always going to do bad tactics, which triggers terrorism, and non-unique to their argument. The second is about the political cover-up across a lot of the responses. There's always going to be a political cover-up. But then third, they talk about the interaction. Realize that there's not going to be good interaction if Catalonia becomes independent. They're still going to be distinct from the Spain military, which means there's not going to be cooperation. They don't solve it. Second, the toxic effect exists in either world, which also non-unique to their argument, and we would just outweigh on civil war.
Oh, we're going to run a little bit of prep.
John, really quickly, I didn't catch the last non-uniqueness response you read. What was that?
They say that their internal link is basically that toxicity is what's leading to terrorism through policymaking, and I say that toxicity is always going to exist if Catalonia becomes independent, which non-uniques the terror argument.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, it's just all causality. David, do you want to call me, or you're good?
Some prep. Yeah, we're gonna run some prep. If
Oh, okay.
Cool. All right, we're good on prep and shit. Wait, did I read any turns that?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, dialogue as well.
Are you ready?
Yeah, man. All right, I'll ask the first question.
Yeah.
Wait, shit. I have 10% better. Do we have a?
Wait, I could just time, bro.
On his laptop.
On my laptop.
Yeah, I think it's over the corner. Yeah, it is.
Where is it?
Right there. All right, you're good.
All right.
Oh, by the way, for the speech talk thing, I cut out the second link into the disad on refugees. Like, I'm sure you guys caught that, but yeah.
Yeah, we got it. All right. Let me just get on my timer. I keep saying I don't have a SIM card. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you kept saying, I didn't really catch this, but like, how do we link into like causing a civil war?
I'm confused. Like, what are you referring to specifically?
I think like consistently you kept saying that like.
Okay, so I mean, I guess I'll explain one of like the ways that you link in. I guess the Aries evidence indicates that when a movement goes from unsuccessful to successful, 38% of the time that leads to a spillover effect due to just like the domino effect and vulcanization. That's like one link. I would also argue, yeah.
Right.
What's up?
But 62% of the time it doesn't though. Then.
No, we say that when it goes from no, it's not 38% of the time it happens. We say that the probability goes up by 38%.
But if you're not giving me a single movement that like would be spurred via Catalonia, and then you're also reading the evidence.
So if you want a movement, I would say that the Serbian movement through Dodik would actually lead to a spillover effect in civil war.
Yeah, but if you're like not giving me an example of why Catalonia specifically makes this probable, and then also reading evidence that says a majority of the time there is no spillover, that kind of like delinks your own argument.
When do I ever say that a majority of the time there won't be spillover? What my argument is that A point, Catalonia will never go to civil war due to gradualism solving, but B, if they do actually become independent, that still triggers civil war because of the fact that it leads to a signaling effect in which movements are perceived as successful. That is why Dodik in Serbia would pursue an independent movement which would trigger a genocide. Like that's an example. But I have a question. Why can Spanish politicians not just use Catalonian independence as the new cover-up?
Say that again.
Why can Spanish politicians not use this newly formed nation as a different cover-up?
Because so our evidence is like really, really specific in saying preserving Spanish unity and like territorial unity is what's allowing them to like start revving up support essentially, and that they haven't been able to like.
Wait, no, that's not the link I'm asking about. I'm just asking about the distraction link, right? Political distraction.
You're talking about the fourth contention then?
Well, I mean, I guess like the internal link is the same in your second and fourth contention.
It is.
Yeah, right. Political distraction, though. Like, I would still argue that it's a political distract. Like, if California seceded from the U.S., Trump would definitely talk about it, right?
Yeah, but like, so what we're saying specifically in Spain is that the only reason why Spanish politicians right now are able to like demonize Catalonia and like rally up this support, specifically the People's Party, the reason why they're able to do that is by like saying that they're going to preserve Spanish unity. If you break Spanish unity, then you obviously lose their platform. They can't demonize Catalonia afterwards.
Wait, I'm confused. If anything, an independent Catalonia would be another reason why their platform would be intensified, because now the constituency...
No, because they lost their main voter right now is Spanish. Yeah. If they lose their main voter, no party gets reelected.
Okay, so follow-up question. Catalonia becomes independent. So the only party left is the right. So they're not going to vote for the right when that's the only party left, because the only leftist pushback in Spain right now is Catalonia.
Right. And also, our argument is about Spain. You read a bunch of responses that were about Catalonia. That's not what our argument is about.
Yeah, about Spain.
Yeah. Why is the right-wing party the only party left?
Yeah, because Catalonia is the major pushback, the major leftist pushback in Spain right now.
So people respond to that also in summary. It's just like, it doesn't really matter that Catalonia is really liberal, because if conservatives lose their platform as a whole, then even conservatives won't be able to vote, won't vote for the People's Party because they won't have a conservative platform anymore because they lost Spanish unity. Can I ask you a question?
We're time.
Oh, that is? Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Okay. I think I'm good.
Sure.
Yeah, what's the order? Because I have 5 sheets of paper.
Same. It's going to go on dialogue, like wherever you float the bottom of your shit, and then it's going to be basically top-down case, but I'm going to be frontlining turns or like stopping at certain arguments.
I'm sorry, top-down your case, right?
Yeah, so I'll signpost pretty well.
Okay, so dialogue your case.
And then it'll be like one thing on your the one piece of terminal defense on your case.
Okay, so dialogue, top of my case.
Yeah.
Okay, the terminal defense is at the top of my case.
Yeah, it's on the subpoint A.
Okay, so dialogue, defense, your case. Got it.
Or dialogue, my case, defense.
Oh, dialogue, your case. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone ready?
Yeah, I'll just mute myself.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a speech doc, but all right. Let's begin.
on dialogue. He said it's going to happen in the next couple months. However, that's what evidence was from a couple months ago. It still hasn't happened. But second, trust us empirically, because originally they granted them in 2006, but took it away in 2010. Their argument is simply very like short term. Second response he gives is the turn that we say that the People's Party is going to get support on all this. They say he would lose support. No, Rajoy gets power and the Popular Party get power based on this idea of Spanish unity. If he's able to succeed in Spanish unity through dialogue, he still gets his power. It still links into our second contention. Now let's go into our first contention. He reads the term that's going to be an increase in other areas, increase in session in other areas. That's if it's only mutual or evident, or like the session here is not mutual. It's a mutual evidence. It's a mutual because Spain's going to grant it to them. It's not going to be like all these other scenarios, like war scenarios they talk about in their case. On contention 2 about bad politics, they say that they can blame other issues. How Catalonia is the most effective issue because it affects every single person. It's the most popular issue in the last couple of years. But then they try to read that there's polarization in Catalonia. Our arguments about Spain, it's non-responsive. But second of all, I would say that polarization would resolve in Catalonia really quickly because they realize they have to like actually build a government and things like that. Then he starts to say that they're going to lose liberal votes and things like that, liberal turn and things like that. However, it doesn't matter if the ratio of conservatives to liberals change in Spain because these conservatives won't have a platform because the People's Party no longer has a platform because the Catalan issue is resolved. Then they try to say that like on the green tech, they try to say like people already support it now. However, yeah, that's how they support it, but they can't invest in it. That's the more timer evidence. There's like Spain will eventually be 100% renewable, but it's a matter of how they're able to do it and how to foster innovation in these areas. These bad policies are stopping like innovation in these areas. They're stopping investment through high taxes and cutting subsidies. They can't invest in these areas. Even if we only increase like the time we make that switch by 1 year, that's still 1 year where 30,000 lives are saved. That's an able way to vote for us because we save lives in the long term and it builds up over time because it's exponentially 30,000 people per year. That always all their impact to ours is over time. Their civil war only lasts for a short term. Now on to contention throughout refugees. He tries to turn this because of backlash from other people. However, the majority of people in Spain actually support this. Now on to contention 4. He tries to read there's going to be more terrorism because they're a new country. However, counterterrorism operations are already established. There won't be any of this problem. On a third link about terrorism, he tries to say that's going to they're going to be distinct from Spain. That's the point. Spain right now is controlling their counterterrorism efforts, and they want to see them fail. So they're stopping them from getting access to anything like the European database, not the Spanish database. If they become independent, they can get access to that database, and they can crucially track terrorists, which is crucial because it spills over to other European countries because it affects how Spain interacts with other European countries. They can stop terrorism throughout all of Europe.
Thanks, dude. My flow's looking real shitty for this round.
Yeah, same. Okay.
I got it.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually pretty easy to flow.
Yeah. David, do you need prep?
Yeah, I'm gonna run a little bit of prep.
Do you need prep where you call me or you're good?
Yeah, I just need like prep.
Okay. What are you looking at, bro?
Okay, is everybody good? Hello?
What's your order, David?
Okay, so this is gonna be like hella confusing to flow, and I apologize for that preemptively. So I think I'm gonna just do like voter structure with like a little bit of defense on their case. So
I missed all of it.
Okay. It's gonna be like defense on their Civil War argument. Then it's going to be a voter on like politics that combines the Oskoy evidence from our case and the Studebaker turn from rebuttal. Then it's going to be, then it's going to be our case. Well, no, it'll be a little bit more defense on renewables after that, like underneath that politics stuff. So like the defense there.
Can you just like
I'll signpost in the speech.
Well, like really, really well.
What'd you say?
Like signpost it really clearly. Like even stop and say I'm moving to this because it's getting confusing.
Yeah, I think that'll be a better way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave, where are you starting? Just tell me where you're starting.
I'm going to start on their case.
Okay, their case at the top.
Yeah, I should just be going basically down the flow. The only confusing thing is going to be like the
It's fine. Yeah.
Oskoy extension. Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me pull up their rebuttal. All right. start on their case. They drop the analysis from the bottom of our case. That's Gar and Antic. It says that once there's enough support in Catalonia for independence, the government will be forced to give it to them. That bright line is going to be reached before the bright line for civil war is going to be reached. But also remember, the gradualism is going to solve. They say that they took it back and they've taken it back before, but it doesn't matter because it's prevented civil war from happening. They never show you that they access that bright line. Then on renewables, they also dropped the OSCO evidence from our case, which says that nationalism is going to increase, and nationalism and right-wing politicians are going to backlash against Rajoy and gain power in their world. That's really important because it also frontlines their front line to the Studebaker term, which says that once the independence question goes away, the conservatives die. No, the conservatives have a new rallying point, which is that they want to get Rajoy out of office because they don't like him because they gave Catalonia independence. This also short circuits the internal link into the renewables argument, because if the conservatives gain power in Spain after independence, they're not going to pass renewables. That's the evidence that they read you in case. Then on refugees, their only front line here is that the majority support, but that doesn't matter. Even if a small minority of people don't like it, they use the refugees to stir up support for more policies. And empirically, according to Danes, even in countries which have a majority support for refugees, leads to more structural policies in the long term that harm refugees. That's going to be a clean turn there. Then their only argument on the Siraki turn is that there's like, the majority of people support it. That's literally not true. Only 27% of people support it, and they really don't frontline this turn at all. Extend the RE7 indicates that after a secession happens, it's a 38% increase in the probability of future secessions. John gives you an example of where that could possibly happen, and that's really important because Siraki says there's a 90% chance that goes into conflict. Then on our case, group all their econ turns. None of these matter. Uniqueness controls the direction of the link. It's bidirectional. The economy is fine right now. If we win a link into state collapse, we win the round because this outweighs literally everything else. We do this in a couple of ways. The first is the locale evidence, which says that even without EU, the restructuring of Catalonia would cost 350,000 jobs in a 5-year recession. That's really important because they also drop Rubini, says that economic failure leads to political instability and leads to state collapse. It's a clean link there. Then on backlash, their only response here is that people support, but only 27% of people support. Then they say that there's no bright line. That doesn't matter because it's it's years down the road. It happens immediately. That's our Murado evidence. The same that says that independence without majority support would inevitably lead to violence between the states. That's why our Brennan evidence says that Catalonia cannot exist as an independent state, and extend Star, which says that leads to conflict.
Can you repeat what? David, can you repeat? I know you extended the call. What did you extend between Le Call and Murado?
I extended Le Call, and then I said Rubini.
Oh, okay.
Economic failure leads to state collapse.
All right, are you all ready for Grand?
I cut out around Le Call. Which part of Le Call do you extend, and like what part of the case?
I said Le Call. It says that even if they are in the EU, the restructuring of the country leads to 350,000 jobs lost in a 5-year recession. Then I extended Rubini, which says that economic failure leads to economic downturn leads to political instability and state collapse.
And then he on backlash extended Gunsherman, Murado, Brunnett, and Star.
Yeah, but I got everything. I got everything before coming onward.
Okay. Okay. If y'all are ready for Grand, I am too.
Okay. Let's start off on like the Catalonia turn. So the turn you read to like People's Party. So is that the conservatives are gonna backlash against Rajoy?
Yeah.
Yeah. You drop it. It's at the bottom of the case. It's the Oscar evidence, and it's a little bit.
We didn't drop that. Like that was about Catalonia, and Dave kind of pointed that out. Like it's not about.
No, it's not about Catalonia.
No, the Oscar evidence is about Spain specifically, saying that the right backlashes against Rajoy because Rajoy is no longer perceived as a real conservative, which means that there's a new wave.
It doesn't matter if he's going to backlash against just Rajoy, right? It's like the People's Party in general.
Backlash against Rajoy is in response to the argument.
You guys say, hold on. Y'all say that post-independence, the right wing has nothing else to rally behind. The Osco evidence, which you guys drop, indicates that after Rajoy grants Catalonia its independence, the right wing in Spain galvanizes around hating Rajoy and trying to get him out of office.
It's not like just Rajoy makes the decision to grant independence, right? Like the entire parliament does. Like the entire majority party would have to like.
Either way, the Osco evidence still
the entire party would
Wait, I'm confused. So the entire party is going to vote to give Catalonia independence. Catalonia leaves, and now people don't have anything to vote for. Like your argument doesn't make sense. Clearly, Rajoy is the linchpin. So if Rajoy is the linchpin, and he's the one that controls.
More importantly, a little bit ridiculous.
John, people do not have a. People are only. Our argument is really specific in saying people are only voting for the People's Party because of like they're short because they say that they're going to protect territorial unity. If Catalonia becomes independent, that means that they have no more reason to vote for.
I guarantee you that your evidence does not indicate. I guarantee your evidence that like Catalonia has like two parties, the left and the right. Or Spain rather. I guarantee you.
4 parties.
Okay, but like they are either left or they're right. I
No,
guarantee you that
Catalonia had a fascist dictator for like 40 years.
I guarantee you that your evidence does not.
Okay, wait. Where's the left coming from? Where's the
Let me
left
just-
coming from?
I guarantee you that your evidence does not indicate that absent like Catalonia, the entire right wing in Spain just collapses.
There's
Like
only one. There's only no. It's very
all like that
What
movement.
else would they get like their support from?
What,
Right?
like,
So,
I don't know.
sure they can.
Yeah.
Sure, I like what I read in my like summary was that sure they could try to use other issues, but the fact remains that Catalonia is the most effective issue to get themselves into power. That's why they got in power in 2011.
Right, and our argument is that the issue of Catalonia is literally always going to exist. If Catalonia becomes independent, that is still going to trigger all the political blowback because now people are going to be seen as competing with Catalonia.
Like it's not like you guys are
Like
making
Trump
assumptions.
literally ran on a platform of demonizing other countries. I don't understand how Rajoy wouldn't have power.
It's also not going to go away. Like it's kind of ridiculous to think this party that you say has been founded over like wanting to keep Catalonia intact. The moment they leave, they're not going to be like, oh well, like too late. Our party is going to collapse now. They're still going to have like an incentive to be angry about.
For what reason will they backlash for? Like, what are they backlashing for?
The right wing does not want Catalonia to leave. If Rajoy grants them their independence, also you guys are really abusing fiat to indicate that like everybody in like the Spanish government
doesn't grant independence. The government grants independence, which means the party controlling the government grants independence.
No, wait. Who said it has to be
right?
peaceful?
You don't get to fiat that the right wing's okay with that.
No, we don't. It just happens. Like the point is that
What? No, our argument is that you cannot fiat that is a. Oh wait, we're over time. I was gonna say you can't fiat that is a peaceful process. It's just that they grant it.
What? Okay.
Are you taking prep?
Yeah.
Right? They extended nothing on that in summary. Like, go hard for that.
All right. I unmuted.
Okay.
All right. Let me just get the case up and then.
Dude, that's tough. If David didn't extend anything about it in summary, like it sounds like a GG.
you missed the first part about what part of the flow that was. So
Yeah. It's all good. Give me a sec.
it's gonna be too often case.
All right. I'm going to start on counterterrorism.
Is that what David dropped?
Yes, that is what David dropped.
All right, let me get my pen out. Hold on, sorry. Okay, so you're gonna go for counter-terror.
Oh wait, just for people watching, I'm gonna say because I have to compare David's summary with David's summary.
Yeah.
So
Just call me Canaan.
I'll say Canaan and Zell. All right, that's gonna feel weird. I'm calling you David, and I'll call Zell.
Give me the order. It's gonna start at terrorism and then
Counterterrorism. Then I'm going Actually, wait. Let me just go dialogue, people's. Yeah, let me go dialogue, counterterrorism, People's Party, down your case.
Whoa. Okay, calm down. Dialogue.
Yeah. Dialogue.
Okay.
Counterterrorism.
Okay.
People's Party.
Like your
And then-
politics stuff. Okay.
Yeah. And then let me just mark this in my flow. And then down your case is the last thing.
Okay. So start at dialogue and then signpost, I guess.
Yeah, probably something like that. And then let me I gotta get my case up.
Wait, when you're going to your case, you're going to counterterrorism first, or you're going to your C2?
I'm going to counterterrorism first.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Cool. Okay, cool. Case. Can I have the case on your computer? I don't know why I don't have the case up. Oh, I do. Here it is.
Okay, everyone good?
All right.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's begin. On dialogue, they drop two things. One, remember that they said like dialogue will happen over a couple months. Remember their evidence was from a couple months ago, and I indicted that by saying like in March now, like a couple months later, we still don't have dialogue. Then they took it away in 2010, like their impact is cyclical. On counterterrorism, they dropped this in summary. Don't let them extend new things in final focus and second final focus on this because Dave frontlines everything. It's a clean extension for us. The Economist says that Spain on our third north that Spain doesn't cooperate with Catalonia just to show that they would be weak if they were independent. So they're blocking all their counterterrorism function. That's really important because Catalonia is a hub for like terrorist recruitment because of this. And Politico, that's from Politico. It says that Catalonia is a key state for like organizing counterterrorism operations across the European continent because because a lot of the radicalization that's happening in Catalonia and spread across the country, that is big, the biggest impact on the ground on scope because that's terrorism in all of the countries in Europe. Then let's go into the People's Party argument. They say that it's like there's nationalism increase in our world. Remember, the one that's Catalonia, that's not Spain. The second, backlashing against Rajoy isn't responsive to our argument because our argument is literally about the entire People's Party. Remember that if the entire People's Party who's in control of the government grants Catalonia independence, they lose their main voter because their only voter right now, the Hedgeco evidence and like the Iliad evidence all says that the only main voter for them right now is keeping territorial unity. If they lose territorial unity, they lose the reason why they're getting elected. That's critical because they pass bad renewable energy policy. They kill 30,000 people every single year. They say that it's basically like the conservatives are going to increase power and that's going to be no renewable energy. Remember that every single other party in Spain supports renewable energy. That's the thing that they drop. Then on down their case, remember that actually we impact lives like 30,000 people every single year. That's the biggest impact because one, like lives are prerequisite to other economic impacts. Two, it's irreversible. On their case, they say there's refugee backlash. One, remember there's like they had a majority and like there's never been proof of that in the history of Spain. And then we also say that like a majority support. Then on future secessions, remember it being an amicable agreement, and they never respond to my indict on the 90% thing that the evidence like that they read 90% conflict, the 10 deaths at their threshold, we definitely outweigh that impact. On state collapse, their first link is restructuring, but they don't respond to Bosch, who says that there's a $14 billion surplus after restructuring, means that there wouldn't be an issue. Then they say there would be a 5-year recession, but they don't. But they drop that like Catalonia would continue to use the euro, which concedes terminal defense from CNBC that says that if they did use the euro, the central bank wouldn't let them collapse and would influx money, which would prevent a 5-year recession. Then their second thing is backlash. Remember, they won't turn to back like violence because Catalonia has been peaceful. Then remember, from a 15-year majority in the parliament, people do support independence.
Okay. Let me just see if David said anything.
Are you using prep?
Yeah, David's gonna call me. Okay, this is going to be incredibly messy. it's going to start on gradualism. Yeah, it's going to start on gradualism. Then it's going to go to terror. Then it's going to go politics. Then it's going to go the conflict spillover turn. Then it's going to go our side of the flow.
All right. If you could just time those.
I'll try.
I'm just going to all 4 sheets out.
Okay. So, yeah.
Wait, John, check your Skype really quickly.
Yeah, okay, cool. If everybody's ready, I'll start the time now. The first argument they make is essentially that Rajoy is going to take it away, but realize that this argument is literally an assertion. We would say that Rajoy has literally changed the political making, policy-making paradigm. It's going to be Lechaire's evidence, which says he's more keen on making receptions. It was from a couple of months ago, but we tell you very specifically that Spain is more interactive. That's why the Associated Press finds that 71% of people support conflict. You pull trigger for presumption right now because we saw that for all their offense. Let's go to their argument on terrorism. Extend the current 12 evidence from rebuttal, which gets cold dropped. It was a turn, but evaluated as terminal defense, which says that Catalonia becomes ground zero for terrorism because they don't have any infrastructure to combat terrorism. Even more so, realize that economics outweigh because they try to make this argument that says that cooperation is key, but if a civil war happens, the economy collapses, there's no more infrastructure, they really can't combat terrorism. Even more so, I would say that any economic harms means that people turn to terrorism, which means that we short-circuit their argument. Let's go to the argument specifically about politics, though. First of all, extend the turn from Oskay, which indicates there's going to be a backlash to Rajoy, the Sudbacher turn, which says that it's going to be a new rallying point, which means that we corrupt the internal link in renewables. They say that it's about the entire Popular Party, but Rajoy is the spearhead. Even more so, realize that there's still going to be a rallying point, as most of the people don't want secession to happen, so there's going to be a new right. The all-right will still rise, which short circuits the refugee argument, the renewables argument. Even more so, war outweighs renewables because if infrastructure is destroyed, then renewables aren't actually going to be able to be developed. And then you're going to extend the turn on the refugee argument, which says that people are going to use refugees as a form of backlash, which is going to lead to the rise of the right, which means that we have a cold dropped warrant, which outweighs on probability because the strength of link into the rise of the right. So we corrupt their politics, or even then extend the Soroki evidence. They said that the bright line is 10 deaths, but conflict still happens. Hedgeco says there's only a 5% chance of a peaceful divorce happening, which at that point conflict actually happens in Catalonia. The Aries evidence says it leads to a spillover 38% of the time increase, which means that we actually outweigh to a civil war on scope. Then they try to make this argument that says there's going to be a surplus in the economy, that none of their evidence accounts for the fact that a war happens. If there's war and there's fallout, the EU is not going to inject anything to save the economy. You extend the Lacaille evidence, which says that 350,000 jobs would be lost and there would be a 5-year recession, which accounts for all their arguments, which Rubini says would lead to political instability, which would spill over to war. According to the STAR evidence, even more so, extend the Gunnerman evidence, which says that only 27% support, and the Murado evidence that says that that's going to lead to internal violence, which causes the civil war, which outweighs their argument because it causes these cyclical tensions, destroys infrastructure, and has a spillover effect, which outweighs on magnitude because more lives are lost from that than civil war.
Good round, guys.
Yes.
So I think the 3 judges are going to kind of deliberate now. If y'all just want to like talk amongst yourselves, then I think that's cool.
Dave, you want
and Zach, when y'all are done, just make sure to PM me your decision, and then we'll announce and then do RFPs, and we'll all just kind of talk about the round. So yeah, talk about anything except for the round, y'all.
David, you're muted.
I said he's on spring break.
I get on tomorrow.
I didn't hear anything.
We've been on for Monday, or since Monday.
Nice.
One day.
How dick are y'all for TOC prep?
Dude, honestly, subpar.
I've gone through a lot of back files, and I've done a little bit of my own research.
Dude, I've cut a total of 20 cards. None of them.
Altamont lane is definitely lacking, but we'll get there.
Yeah, not good. I'll start. This is a good way to like get back in it, because like after March, I'm just kind of like bored. I don't feel like doing
it. It's been a minute since I think my last flow round was literally, I don't even think I had a flow round at Berkeley, so I think my last flow round might have been ASU. So
I think
super messy final focus.
Yeah, David or Zell, post the straw poll. People are apparently.
Oh, Alan told me not to do it because he was like,
Camp Counselor Alan.
No, he was like, I'm gonna do something in YouTube, but honestly, like. Yeah, I'm gonna post it now because I feel like all of the people, like I feel like that's gonna. Yeah, I'll just make it now.
Yeah, just.
Okay, sorry, Alan.
I want to get on YouTube.
Thanks for watching. Who won?
Richard's on the chat. That's funny.
Evan's here.
It's just people from our school yelling at each other.
Oh, so your school's gonna hack for you in the straw poll.
I don't think they're gonna vote. And if anything, our school is so like memey that like they will vote against.
Yeah, everyone's gonna
like
vote
like
against
absolutely, you're gonna get like 30 votes right off the bat because our school.
Oh,
just,
dude, wait. Alan set up the chat to filter any links.
oh, yikes! How does Alan is big brother right now.
All right, guys, wait. Everyone in the chat who wants to vote, go to my Facebook. I'm just gonna drop the link. I'm just gonna post the link on my Facebook. Fuck Alan's totalitarian.
Follow me on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it on my Snapchat.
Just kidding.
It's
I'm
maybe
gonna
on
I
Tumblr.
trust the process. I'm sure Alan's gonna do something in the chat.
Amit and I are gonna play duos tonight. If I go on Fortnite and I see like 1,000 friend requests, that's better.
Oh
Wait,
wait,
if you want to play duos, do you want to squad up?
you should. But I can't. You have an.
Oh,
Xbox?
you have an old computer. I have like a
My-
360 that I haven't used in 4 years.
All right, I'll play on your 360.
I don't think you can get it. Pretty sure that shit got like deactivated.
God damn it! I have to go home to play Fortnite with y'all. I'll go home and get my Xbox One. My house is like 5 minutes away.
You're all good at Fortnite.
No, well, I
No.
suck. I've played like 3 times, but
I meme a lot.
we basically just go to Tilted and die in about like an hour. No.
You gotta go gas station.
Nah,
Yeah.
dude, it's all about shifty shafts.
Go tilt.
Shifty Shafts.
Go
is the
tilted
move.
or you're a bit. Oh,
Shifty Shafts.
what was everyone's thoughts on my contention one tagline? Civil War at Tilted Towers.
That was
That
high.
He tried to do it for all of them and like ran it by me, and none of them made sense. That was the one that made the most sense. It was Civil War at Tilted Towers. Oh, awesome. This was let me mute this for a second. All right, unmute.
Go tilted. Nobody goes there.
Prison. Oh, we're just getting Fortnite suggestions.
Nick DeVito is.
Can I see? Can I see the? I think it's Alvarez, but like the evidence from your C2 Unionville about voters, like the PP powers only because of unity.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you
there's
just like email me that?
We'll email you. There's like actually 6 cards that all say that.
I deleted all my.
I just need the one you extend in Final Focus, not the additional ones that you want me to read because you want me to.
Asher Mall said, "Where is LaSalle? LaSalle's right here." Oh, like where? Like
I'm pretty sure
geographically.
Max Wu was in the chat. I don't know if he was watching.
1,000 Pennsylvania. It's like about 30 minutes away.
Dude, we need the fucking straw poll up, boys.
Since
We
we're
have
doing
two
evidence
Davids, we have
calls,
2
can you-
LaSalles.
since we're doing evidence calls, can you send me
David,
the Oscar evidence?
So which one?
The Oscar, I'm talking to Sallemont. Can you send me the
Everyone.
Oscar evidence?
If
The
y'all-
one like,
Go.
rallying points.
If-
The evidence
if
about
y'all
like rallying
hover
points
in
for
the
the
up-
party, the one that's not that you say is like for
Wait,
both.
yeah, yo, chill just for a sec, David. Can you sell him on Squid? Send him on Squid.
Oh yeah. Honestly, Alan might have to send him Oscoy, honestly.
Yeah, it was.
All right. For anyone watching this and for anyone interested, there is a straw poll on the video via YouTube. If you hover your mouse in the right-hand corner of the kind of like video screen where the video is playing, there's like an info button that will appear. Click on that, and you can vote on the straw poll there.
All right, I'm
And it let
the Oscoy evidence.
Oh, I need it from Unionville. I think it's Alvarez. Whatever card they extend in Final Focus, which I don't think they.
Yep. No, he asked for Hedgeco. I got it. That's the other one.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Hey, Alan, where is Oscoy?
Do you have Alvarez, by the way? Because you extended both.
Austin. Yeah, I'll get it.
Just look in our Emory cases.
Oh yeah, they're carded. Never mind.
Yeah.
Actually,
Here, it's right here.
Wait, was it Oscom or Oscoy?
Oscoy.
It's Oscom. I think I read it as Oscoy though.
Whoa.
Unionville. Can I also see the evidence you're about to flash, Alan?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Hedgeko, yeah.
Yeah, we can.
I'm sending it in the Facebook group chat no matter what. So
We'll just put the link and then the little the card basically.
yeah, I'll put a link in the text card.
Ooh, what is this? There's like a paywall
What?
for Alvarez. Oh wait, here. I'll just copy and paste the link in the thing. That's what we read. All right.
Which one is that?
Yeah, I sent it.
Riley.
I put Alvarez in there,
And I just put Hedgeko.
and Dave just put Hedgeko, and the stuff underneath is just straight up quotes from the article, and the link is there too.
Riley, is Kyle in the live stream?
The Alvarez one says that it's anti-Catalonianism, and then the other one about from Politico Hedgeko says that it's they use the territorial issue to get into power. And if you want the Quijones one, that one says that
It's fine. It's fine.
unity.
We didn't extend that one.
Yeah. Ooh. Altamont CZ. John, did you get finesse to be second?
Hmm?
You were is David the alpha here?
Well, no, I'm speaking first.
Yeah, but I speak second and I'm the P. I'm first.
Alpha.
Wait, wait, guys, how do you get to the straw poll?
Is there a straw?
Well, I don't know.
Alan said something about a straw poll, about hovering something.
Hover on the video on the upper right hand corner.
Oh, there's an I at the upper right hand corner.
Yeah,
go
the info button.
And there's a vote thingy.
Wait, I am so. Is it on the video screen itself or like on the chat?
Yeah. So go to the video screen, like zoom out, and then go to the top right corner of the video screen, and there's an I. Click the I.
That's
and
just like 100. Wait, that's just 100% not on my screen. Like at the top right of the white box.
Yeah, but you have to zoom out. You can't.
Here.
I don't know. It's online.
Oh yeah, David. You have to be on the be on the fully minimized one. Yeah.
Yeah, you can be in the very minimized version of.
Oh, I just refreshed it.
Oh,
Do that.
that's probably it.
That's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, just refresh. I mean, I don't know if Max is for real or not, but Max, you should hop on and give RFD.
If Max flowed, he's definitely gonna be the fourth judge.
Rip.
I don't know if that's like a troll Max movie. I think it is Max.
No, it's Max.
Hey Max, your partner's a little freaking bitch. Keshav has dropped all 3 members of La Altamont Lane and then come up to all of us afterwards and been like, "Oh yeah, I looked at my flow more. I should have voted for you."
Chill.
Nah, I don't have beef. I don't have beef with Keshav. I just think that's pretty funny.
I
Like,
mean, you're not wrong, but like chill.
Like- no. He dropped you and like. Wait, John. When did Keshav drop you?
He dropped me. He squirreled against me in trips of ASU or dubs or something.
I haven't had either judges.
Yeah, and then he dropped us to Ryan, and then like at Emory, like we were sitting next to each other in Allen's round against like Ardrey Kell, and like he was like making fun of me for my final focus, and then I was like, yeah, I mean like your vote was stupid, and he's like, we got into this whole thing, and like he was like, yeah, I should have voted for you, and then it did, yeah, and then he dropped Allen in that round, right?
Dude, look what Riley just said.
Who's Riley?
Campbell.
Keshav squirreled every round he's ever judged.
And then he dropped Allen in that round.
Wait, dude, who just turned on the last round?
Keshav is a good judge. I'm sure you trained him well, Max.
Keshav squirreled every round.
Yeah, wait, chill. Someone has the PF thing in the background.
Guys, someone turn their YouTube off. Is in the chat.
It was a mute. First he says Cornell's his backup, then he just has his stuff playing.
Yeah, if you're not gonna vote for us, just like vote for us on like elitism. Like this kid said Cornell was his backup.
Yeah, honestly.
Hey John, do you remember when I said I'd finish blocking H4s?
Dude, why are you giving arguments on stream right now I'm playing? Yeah, you probably should.
Low key want to play Fortnite.
Low key don't want to prep.
Yeah, I just want TOC prep to be like handed to me.
I mean, it's gonna that's gonna happen either way, right? Like,
Chill. No, I'll work on it after this. Maybe I might play Fortnite.
I was gonna say you just got put on the spot, bro.
Yeah, I might play Fortnite.
You're definitely bad at it too.
Oh, I'm so bad. Sid, wait. You said you had schoolwork tonight.
Yeah, buddy. Why are you lying?
I'm like, there's gonna be a delay because Sid's texting in the chat, but
David, I will send you prep. I mean,
yeah. I'm dropping emails in the chat, boys. Send me whatever you want. David, I got it to work on your computer. I do have schoolwork. Dude, wait, 2 arguments is definitely an overstatement.
it's like 1.5.
If that.
No, I think the stuff I did was sufficient.
Is there any benefit of going to 2 camps?
No.
No.
Well, I mean, there's a benefit.
There's like it's not gonna like harm you, but I don't know that it justifies. Like I don't know the cost. Like
yeah.
Like yeah.
Opportunity cost too high.
Like if you have money to spend and you want to go hang out at debate camp, like I guess.
Then again, like why do you want to do? Yeah.
NDF Iowa or VBI? Okay.
VBI.
I say NDF Iowa.
No, David, like we get it. You work at NDF, like.
No, like I like honestly do think NDF Iowa.
All right, you're about to give a janky explanation, but go ahead.
No, I mean like I don't really know what I don't know what people's issue with it, like Iowa is.
Wait, what's your issue with VBI?
I don't know. I don't really have an issue with VBI.
That's right, buddy.
I just think that like NDF Iowa is probably a better camp because I think that like the staff to camper ratio is so small that like if you like it was so easy when I was there to like just bull with like one of the staffers and like get a ton of like attention and like work and stuff.
Wait, David, I would say the ratio is probably going to go up or down this year. Yeah,
but they also hired like way more lab like leaders and stuff for Iowa. Like Iowa is just like definitely a smaller camp, right?
I mean, I don't know if you've seen VBI stuff, but it's pretty good.
I am fucking muted.
They also hired like way more lab like leaders.
Wait, no, mute yourself because you have the PF thing.
Echo because there's a delay on the stream.
Y'all are slandering Capital Debate.
I am
at the moment. Alan is going to lose all of his rent this month. Capital Debate checks.
Hey, fun fact for the stream who's watching. Did you guys know that Alan gets paid $10,000 per PR video?
God, this is a bad echo.
Whoever has the stream open, mute it.
It's a mute.
Dude, it's honestly like definitely me. Got it. Wait.
God. Such an L.
That was you. It was me. I was being a dumbass.
Wait. Just to like speed up time, if everyone's okay with it, if Mai and Zach, it kind of looks like you're done. If you're done, do you guys just want to start with RFDs now?
I'm not done, bud.
Mai, are you done? Want to start?
I just want to wait for the other two. Make sure there's like.
But John, I think I'm close. So like 4 more minutes, and so on.
Yo, John, there's a question in the chat about a freshman from SoCal.
Let's see.
I want to answer that.
Where is it?
Quick plug. I need a partner for NDF Boston.
Question.
I'm going to be a question.
Also
Okay,
need
hold
one.
on. I'm going to be a question from SoCal. What are the best tournaments to hit next year for experiencing hopefully a silver bid?
Preferable way to talk to Dave about NDF is to slide into his Instagram DMs.
Yeah, I think Campbell Hall covered it in the chat. I mean, there's not really many SoCal tournaments with bids, so they're limited. I think Jack has a fine tournament, or at least I've gotten lucky with the judging there for the most part. And competition has gone up over the past couple of
Dave,
years.
Sal,
Yeah.
did just send me some audio recordings of a round. Should I tell him that I know that he slandered us? Oh, I guess he knows now if I'm saying this on the stream.
Oh yeah, dude. Sid, dude, sounds like there's some
Yeah, what's up with that? Sid? I was nice to you at States. I even read the wrong block file in finals just for you. And then
whoa. Okay, from what I've heard, it does not sound like that was intentional.
No. It was absolutely not
Wait,
intentional.
is Cornell your backup?
You know how stupid that was? It wasn't even like I the wrong files in round. I had made a document beforehand because
It really doesn't matter at the point where Cornell's your backup.
Wait. I actually have a scientific question. I mean, are you good at science?
I'm I skipped science in like one of my years of high school, so I'm mediocre.
Oh, okay. I mean, this is sufficient. So David and I were talking, and we're just kind of confused, right? So if you chop your leg off, like, where are you gonna feel the pain if your leg's gone?
Oh shit!
Yeah.
The thump. You feel the thump.
Thank you. We got into a 30-minute argument with Alan over this one time.
Wait. What did Alan think? It's definitely the stump.
Alan,
Yeah. Alan said it was still in the detached leg.
Hold up, I need to defend myself before we announce the decision.
Oh no, we need to speed this up. No one in the stream wants to watch us yell about.
Yeah, we're kidding. Alan did not say
Alan,
that.
we're chill.
So, it's a 3-0 for Sallemont on the con. I'll go first. This is like actually a pretty bad round, because there's honestly, I don't know. This is actually kind of cool that I get to judge like a high level round before TOC, because now I know like what everything I've been doing as a debater is like mostly wrong. Like there's 5 big areas in the flow, and it's just so messy. There's very little collapsing, very little weighing, very little warranting. The thing that's missing most in this debate round is like linked comparison, which is something that I really enjoy. But like, for example, I guess we can go first. There's like 2 warrants, right? And like the Alvarez evidence from pro is like good, yes. Like it say it says, and like it warns that like they're a party based on the idea of unity, and if they lose that aspect, then like they go away. And then like Con gives me this competing warrant, but there's no comparison as to like which one is the true one. I kind of have to, I guess, resolve it myself. I kind of buy the Con warrant on nationalism. It does make sense that there would be a new rallying point. Like Oscom is a very good piece of evidence, and it is never contested. And then, while the Alvarez evidence on pro is good, I think the Hedgeco evidence, what you showed me, kind of does give room to like. And again, I'm having to do this my own analysis because it's not done in the round. The Hedgeco evidence like does seem to imply that like there would be room for like. If Catalonia left, like there would be room for anti-Catalonianism in a pro world. So, but like I also don't feel comfortable voting Con on that turn. I guess I've had to intervene to like buy their warrants, and B, like I'm not even sure if like they're linking into a real impact. Like they don't extend the impact of like conflict via the nationalism warrant, and they also don't. Like, I'm not really sure how that link turn kind of interacts with the renewables argument. It feels like renewables is kind of like bi-directional. Like refugees also don't extend an impact and final focus to like refugee policy. So I can't really vote anywhere on the nationalism stuff, although that's like where most of my. So then I go to like terrorism, which is the C4, and like. first of all, the El País turn or whatever about like becoming ground zero, isn't in summary. I know you told me to evaluate it as like terminal defense, but like I still give pros some access to the impact because the link does seem like bi-directional. And also, like, you yourself, John, acknowledge that, like, terrorism is an issue in the SQO, like, in your rebuttal and in your final focus. So, like, I do grant AF, like, some access to the impact, but, like, I buy the prereq that John extends, even though it's pretty poorly extended, and, like, because that analysis was done in rebuttal, and B, like, even if I just bought 100% of the offense, I don't know what I'd be voting on. Like, this is so poorly explained. Like, the scope is all countries in Europe because Catalonia is a key state. Like, I don't know what I would actually tangibly be voting for. So then I go to the con flow. Lacalle seems, or Lacalle, or whatever I was being lectured on about mispronunciating, that seems pretty clean for the neg because it seems to short circuit their CNBC evidence. About like including the EU, and that evidence is really good. And then I get like Rabuni cleanly extended, so like, that's a link in the state collapse. Like I guess that's uncontested, and like state collapse is apparently a big argument. And then like maybe there's a risk on backlash of Murado, even though there's like this clean defense on it that's extended about like, oh, they all have the same interest. So even if there's like competing factions, there's still cooperation because they're all not the same interest. Like that's mandatory. I guess I could pull trigger here for the con as well if I wanted to, but like there's other hoods, so I don't want to because it's just kind of messy. I can also like in terms of this route to the ballot for the con, I can vote on the star evidence, even though they extend star and sorority, because like sorority indict I feel like is kind of silly, but it's also not really responded to second final focus. But I can still vote on the star evidence that's extended. But probably the cleanest place I could vote on is the turn on contention 1 on the AF. I hate it because it's like unwarranted. Like outside of rebuttal, it's completely unwarranted. You're just extending this, and like the empiric of like Kosovo never leaves crossfire. But like I do have like a claim and an impact, so like I could vote there if I wanted to. So I could pull trigger on turn or on stuff, and I vote con.
Oh wait, do you mind if I go since I have to wrap up pretty soon? Okay, so I voted. So I spent like the first like 5 minutes of this deliberation period like writing a ballot for the affirmative off of the counterterrorism argument. But then I sat down and was really looking at the flow. I agree with what everything Alan said. Is what really lost you the round was probably the like horrible explanation of the argument in final focus and summary. Like I don't understand why Catalonia is the end all be all for all counterterrorism efforts throughout all of Europe. That's badly explained. And you don't even respond to the 2 terminal defense off pieces that David and John put on it. So you're even mischaracterizing it in final. But that said, I think I vote where John was trying to get everyone to vote off of, which is the war argument. There are 2 reasons why I think they link into war. The first is the balkanization argument, which is also poorly responded to and poorly extended by both teams. And I know you guys read the response that says that their evidence is overhyped, like 90, like it only 10 deaths are required for that 90% stat. But like even if there's still a risk of some deaths occurring, that's still going to take priority and mean that like war is going to outweigh. The second place they get a link to war is the state collapse argument from the economy. John extends Lacalle that says that including all the revenue arguments and staying in the EU, they're still going to lose 300,000 jobs, which is going to kill the economy. And this makes sense because the way that David extended it in summary was that Lacalle was talking about a restructuring of the Catalan's economy, which isn't really responded to as an internal link. So I guess they get a link to the economy, and that gives them a link to the state collapse argument, which increases civil war and conflict, international conflict, like they said. I think that outweighs all the other arguments that you guys could potentially be making, like John says in his final, because on terrorism, they impact to like helping counterterrorism efforts across Europe. But John says that when there's a war going on or international conflict, that takes priority and they can't focus on counterterrorism. Then on renewables, they say that Spain is going to go to renewables, but when John says this, he outweighs because they'll be distracted by the war ongoing and they're not going to it. Some other thoughts, I think that it'd be smart if you guys were debating the topic still, to make the Civil War equals terrorism argument, which I think the links are there. They just need to be said. I think that gives the neg more ground. I also think that AF wins some risk of counterterrorism. It isn't explained well enough for me to personally vote off of it, but I could see some argument being made for being there. But I think that anything that they're making here is better, especially compared to the conflict in international international argument. And then the whole renewables argument seemed pretty bad to me because the Rajoy spearhead argument just makes logical sense. Like, they're going to blame the head of the party if something goes wrong or he goes off against his word, just like the United States would blame the president if Trump decided to do something that he didn't want, that he said he was adamantly against. So it makes sense that the right party is going to run on a platform just going completely against Rajoy. I don't know why there was that much debate about disagreeing about what this said, but I think it's just, all in all, pretty poorly warranted in the later speeches. And I think you guys should all just go for less things. Like, I like how John clapped specifically on war and final focus and made that his one thing that he was going for versus your guys' strategy of just trying to win off of multiple different links like counterterrorism and renewables, which are two drastically different things, have different weighing mechanisms.
You done?
Yep.
All right. So for me, I'm just going to go the highest tier in which I evaluate the round is weighing, right? So the only two arguments I really hear get like substantive weighing are war and green tech. So on the green tech side, y'all say 35,000 lives lost. It outweighs because of lives lost. In the end of the day, John does make the prereq argument that gets extended from rebuttal that does say that like it doesn't matter because the prereq to that green energy is the infrastructure to have it, which war tears apart. So at the end of the day, I'm made to like. So at the point where I'm given only two weighing mechanisms, I'm given the only one who gives me any reason to prefer one weighing mech over the other is the Sallemont other. So by default, if they access civil war, then that would mean that I vote for them automatically, even if you access the renewable argument. But even I don't think you access the renewable argument, right? Just because same thing that they've said about the Oscom evidence, but more specifically in terms of like flow interaction, the only response you really extended was, oh, it was not the Catalonians. And then in summary, you try to say that it's still conservatives, but you never respond to what Zell says, which is basically like the evidence is specific to all conservatives, and I call for the evidence that is what it says. Y'all are not really responsive to the evidence specifics here. If you like looked more at it, I guess in the speech doc, that probably would have like benefited you and kept you from making this mistake. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't really matter just because green tech was not the biggest impact in the round at the end. On counterterrorism, honestly, it doesn't matter who accesses it. It's just because like Unionville does absolutely no weighing on this. I'm given no reason to prefer this over like the offense Sallemont's accessing. I think that strategically it would have been a much wiser idea because there was much less ink on terrorism than there was on renewables to kick renewables and then just go all in on counterterrorism and just read a bunch of reasons why it outweighs. That would have been a much, much cleaner, easier avenue for the AF to access the ballot. Then on Sallemont on the neg case, pretty much same thing on the link level. But specifically on the front running that y'all do on the impact. So you try to say like you make the history response and how it's been a couple of months and nothing happens. But y'all never specifically respond to the analysis Zell makes, which is basically from the extension from the drop to the sheriff's evidence, which says that it's a upward trajectory and it has seen some progress. If you didn't respond to that specific piece of evidence, which is pretty problematic because that's pretty much the reason I gave him the link on that one. So at the end of the day, Sallemont accesses Civil War. Civil War is the biggest impact in the round because I'm given no reason to prefer any other weighing mech over it. And the only comparative weighing I get is on Civil War. Thus, I vote for Sallemont because they link into Civil War.
All right. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you all so much
Good round, y'all.
for judging this. I think this is pretty cool. I think we're going to start doing like Sallemont scrims pretty routinely.
Yeah, Unionville, if y'all want a rematch sometime, we could debate again.
Yeah, they might dwindle down. But for all of y'all that are watching, like I know I got a lot of PMs and stuff I need to like sort through when I made that Reddit post. Hopefully I'm gonna make like a schedule pretty soon. And I think it'd be awesome to have a lot more of these rounds to like post because I know people always complain about like Alan not uploading. I think this would be a pretty cool way to sort of give us practice debating, but also, you know, have you guys not only like watching rounds, but if y'all want to like partner up and debate us, I think it's just a really cool resource for the community to have. So big shout out to Alan for that. Thank y'all for judging. Thank y'all.
I will say one thing. I'm going to stay on a little bit here. And for anyone who's curious, there were a lot of questions that I saw like in the chat during the debate. because at the end of the day, like this is supposed to be an educational resource, and this is a pretty fast and also kind of blippy round. And there's some things that people definitely didn't catch or want explained. So anyone who like has the time who wants to stick around, I'm just going to talk about a few things in the round, a few like, and just like a few things in general, like, but like anyone who's like busy or anything can go completely.
Yeah, Alan.
John and David. One question: why did you guys extend the stupid negotiations dialogue thing? Like, what was that getting you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't want John to go for it, but I didn't really want to
Oh
waste.
yeah, no. Oh, I completely forgot about that, but it's also like entirely unimportant because they weren't.
Oh no, I agree. It was more so it was just like
Like, I
five
feel like-
flows, lack of prep, and then the early round strat was to go for negotiations to pull trigger.
Y'all think it would have made like okay? I personally thought it would have made a lot more sense just because I mean they dropped the GAR evidence, which basically says that like
I don't think you guys had anything. If you won negotiations, there's no way that I could see that winning you the round.
exactly. So would y'all like as judges have preferred like John to just drop that and just go with the GAR evidence from Case, which says
I
that
would
like
have liked to see the 20 or so seconds he spent on negotiations being spent on explaining the balkanization link into.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'm just now remembering, and this is like Sallemont, y'all missed a very golden opportunity to just very easily delink their Civil War argument. They read in rebuttal that violence is not very likely. That delinks their own Civil War argument.
yeah. Well, the argument I wanted John to go for, and maybe I'm seeing it differently, but we read GAR and I think it's like antic at the bottom of the case that basically indicates like if support for secession like got to a point that it could erupt in violence, then Spain would be forced to like peacefully grant it to them later down the line. So, like on the spectrum of like like support, like it's the analysis I made in summary. I don't know if it was clear, like in my head and I just didn't articulate it well. Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like
hello, quick.
to grant it to them before it reached the bright line of war.
Yeah, I just got back just so I can follow along. What are we talking about?
We're talking about. I think it was Mai said that he would have, or I don't know if it was Zach or Mai. I wasn't paying attention, but said that you should have spent the 20 seconds on that you went for negotiations in rebuttal, just explaining the balkanization turn. And I was asking.
No, I agree. The negotiation stuff, and the negotiation stuff was literally like I was pressed on prep time, so it was all those flows, and that was the early round strat. So I went for it. But I realized literally midway through it, it was like pretty worthless.
Zach and Mai, would y'all have like preferred? Did that GAR stuff make sense or no?
I mean, it kind of did. It wasn't getting you anything. Also, another question, like I think whatever it's called, I think the AF was right in saying that like your balkanization evidence, your 90% evidence was like overhyped. I think a response needs to be developed to that before final focus. Like I guess that it was just weighing, but I think that for you, David, like. I know you're not ever going to give a summary again, or probably won't.
I would have made an
Probably
escalation
won't.
response.
Yeah, like I think the distraction responses that John tried to wade with made sense. I just think it needs to be covered. And then I'll like for the AF, I think the AF this round becomes super winnable if you like really clarify the counterterrorism argument because I think the negative was so far behind on it.
Yeah, that was the issue. Our like early round strat was to go for a People's Party, but then like that got super muddled during the round. So then we like before final focus, we were like, and right after David's summary, we were pretty much like, yeah, we're gonna go for counterterrorism. The issue was,
Here's a question, y'all. Did you read 4 contention cases?
no, we read 3 contention.
Originally,
I have a question.
I just want to make sure that like anyone watching this, because like, at the end of the day, this is supposed to be like this is an educational thing. Like I think the biggest thing that I think all of us can stress is that yeah, these are 2 good teams, but it's not a great round.
No.
And this is important for people watching this to understand that you should not debate like this. You shouldn't debate blippily. You shouldn't debate without warrants, and you should not read 4 contentions in your case.
I don't want to like throw shade or anything.
We just like knew that David's case was gonna, or Sallemont's case was gonna be like 9 or 50 words, and ours was about 700. So we just added.
Mai and Zach and Alan, quick question.
Yes.
Like I don't give a lot of. I'm going to be giving more summaries like as we continue to do the Sallemont debates because we're pretty set on like me speaking first, and like there's like. I guess I need to develop like a better system of flowing as like a first speaker because like in my head I'm like, okay, there's a set part of case that I know I'm going to frontline and go for. Then the rest of my summary is going to be predicated on their first summary and like what they go for. And if they make it clear that they're collapsing like one or two contentions, I extend defense there, whatever turns I want, and then like frontline case as well. But when they gotta give a, like maybe I missed it, but like their summary did not seem to give any indication of like what argument they were going for. Like there weren't like clear like link and impact extensions beyond the frontlining they did. And so what am I supposed to do as a first speaker when like I kind of keep the shit in summary and go for everything? Like how do I manage that without making the flow as messy as I did?
Yeah, so David, the way you do that is do kind of like what John did in Final Focus, which is go hard on one argument and then just go for that weighing method and try to outweigh. Like for me, like, I kind of enjoyed like judging this round a little. Like, okay, if you ask 9 out of 10 PF judges, like I don't know, the first judge who comes to mind is Ed Bilal, but like if you put him in this round, he would have hated y'all because like he would have had to like actually think. Like I enjoy thinking and I enjoy like, you know, I'm sorry, I love you, Bilal, but like I enjoy like looking through complexity.
Wait, Alan, quick question. I understand that this debate was definitely blippy, and I think it's just because no shade at Unionville, but like 4 contentions that are different pieces of offense kind of like make it messy for all of us on the flow. But in terms of like having to think or whatever, did you not buy my weighing mech that like wore prereqs? Okay.
I definitely bought your like the way you collapse. Okay, like your collapsing wasn't perfect, John, because of the fact that David's collapsing sucked, and there's so much in the round. Sorry, David, I love you, but like you did come down to a coherent like way of impact that was like state collapse, and then state collapse spills over, and like okay, so state collapse is a bad thing, and it's a pretty big impact, and that's really good because like you could have honestly. You could have dropped all of your ink on their case, and you could have just gone and warranted econ, or gone a minute and a half on that, and then just like weigh, and you could have just like spent. You could have literally just done so much work on your case, and then just say like. This is more important than all of their arguments.
Yeah. So my summary should have
like your warranting, which like was blippy, or just like on their case, and like had zero like comparison. Like it wasn't even necessary.
So wait, Alan, question: should going off of what you said, like instead of trying to like cover so much in my summary? Should I have literally just read like framing at the top that was like Civil War, prereqs, everything, and just frontline like 2 warrants or something like that?
Civil War is the most important impact in the round because also the AF does like Civil War in this round was such a golden impact because the AF does not have a link into it. And also, I'm just like props to you, David. And this is something I want to talk about. The best part of your summary, and honestly, the best part of this round was your grouping of their like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 turns to econ or 10 responses to an argument. Like, and this is like to explain because this is a number of people ask questions about this. Like, what David's response was is he took all of these arguments about like the economy of Catalonia improves in the pro world. They take all of these responses and then David says, like, the impact that they try to turn is this idea of state collapse. But the state collapse impact is, like, unidirectional. It's not bidirectional. So basically what that means is that Catalonia's economy is already, like, good. And, like, that's never disputed, right? Like, you can try to dispute that. But, like, Catalonia's economy is already good. And state collapse is probably not going to happen right now because Catalonia's economy is like really good. So like the only link into the impact is this idea of the economy getting worse. And the only way the economy could get worse, at least in the context of this round, is by voting pro. Even with these like turns that like, oh, you create 71,000 new jobs or like you create $16 billion like euros in new taxes. Like there is still like those could be true, but the only way that Civil War economically could get triggered is in the pro world because the con is okay. Now, pro could say that like the economy is bad because of the independence thing, but like I also know that like David and John have like blogs to that, and that would have made a different debate. But if anyone still is kind of like,
Wait, Alan, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So you say like lack of link comparison or whatever, I guess lack of warranting. I guess like A, what specifically, but B, like I'm gonna give you a specific example, I guess. Like on their politics argument, I try to say that you prefer our refugees extension because like the front line and extension on it was clean, which means it outweighs their link into it on probability due to the higher strength of link.
So
Like
the reason why I don't buy your well, I do buy it, but like it doesn't lead me anywhere. In terms of is because there's like the link, at least the analysis that's done in like David's summary has like a claymore impact structure, and it has an impact of like hurting refugees. Now, yeah, you do extend the link, but you don't extend the impact to refugees. And it seemed like you don't make the argument that like the policies spill over. You just say that like bad policies get passed due to like xenophobia or like anti-immigrant.
you don't buy like okay, yeah, I guess I should have been more clear. I was just saying the rise of the right via refugees.
You know, explain how I go from like people backlash to against refugees towards like the same impacts that like the AF tries to link into.
Okay, I guess.
And then in terms of like where comparison is necessary, and this is a tip for every debater. And this is like I'm passing this advice down from Harrison Hurt from like an NDF lecture that he gave on Wayne, is that people love to spam link turns or link ends, but they don't tell you why you prefer their scenario over the other. Like the best example of this is the example that like Harrison Hurt gave was on the like Russia sanctions topic. Like you could like after like pro sanctions could say that like sanctions are good because they decrease the economic conditions in that country, and that turns people against like their country's leader and puts increased political pressure on that leader to reform. Now the con sanctions could link turn that argument and say, well, no, sanctions lead to an increase in nationalism because now the leader can use a rally around the flag effect and just say like, hey, look at that Western imperialist who's now sanctioning us. They're bad. Let's all like get mad at them. I have two perfectly warranted and explained links, and both of them can be cleanly extended, but I don't know which one is true. So the warrant comparison would be telling me why one warrant is better than the other. So for example, if I was con sanctions, I would say, you buy our warrant because Russia is a state-controlled propaganda state in which Putin can control the central message that gets delivered to his people. So there's no risk that like this idea that people revolt against Putin actually spreads because Putin will just fill the airwaves with his own anti-Western propaganda. And that's the comparison that means that the con link is true. Now, that's true in most political arguments. And most like honestly, any social science argument, which is like all of debate, will always have like competing warrants. Economics, political science, everything is competing theories, everything is competing warrants. So it's like, which one is true? And like, I don't want to if I'm judging like an econ debate next year, like I don't want to have to like make my own decision based on what I think economics is true, based on like my own knowledge. Like I want debaters to tell me, and I'll be happy to vote on like neoclassical economics if it's well warranted, even though I don't believe in it. But like I don't want to like have a debate in which like, you know, if the topic is about like fiscal policy or something, I don't want to have to like pro runs like Keynesian economics and then con tries to link turn with like Milton Friedman's theories. And I'm like, well, which one is true? And economists still don't know that. Here, like in this debate specifically, you don't say like why either scenario is true. So I kind of have to evaluate it myself and like based on the pros evidence and kind of like my own beliefs and like a hint of just like there's being an inherent prereq in the cons warranting. Like I kind of default con there.
Oh wait, Alan, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Someone asked in the chat. So, well, someone asked two questions, and I want to kind of answer both. The first was Hunter asking, so basically to explain the econ bidirectional argument, blah, blah, blah. The argument that I was making is that right now, the economy in Catalonia is like good. It's stellar. It's fine. So them reading like their turns to our like subpoint A, we're like, oh, the economy gets better, right? Like there's more jobs. The economy gets good. I just grouped all of their econ turns, and I was like, at the point where the economy is already very high right now, it's not like making it high like prevents state collapse. Like there is zero risk of state collapse as we're talking on the phone. But if we affirm the resolution, there's now a risk of a state collapse. So my analysis is that if the state of Catalonia collapses, like that outweighs any potential turn that they're going to read, because like the economy, there's no reason to make the economy better. It's not like making the economy better prevents state collapse. And so in that sense, the warrant is unidirectional rather than like bidirectional.
I wanted to ask the judges about this because how did the judges, I think Zach was the only one that mentioned it in his RFD, but I want to ask the other judges how they evaluated like the euro argument, that if Catalonia continues to use the euro, then the EU would be able to interject money to stop the recession.
Okay, yeah. Oh, this is the other thing. This is what pissed me off about the econ stuff, right? I get Locale, and like Locale just says even if they're in the EU. And so like I buy that like circumcedes the CNBC evidence, and like the EU's hand would be for it. Okay. This is another example of like there's no comparison. And so I kind of have to buy what the evidence says, which is that even if they're in the EU, even in the best case scenario, because that is what the card says, and that's what they tell me it says, like this is what happens. Now, this is a great example. Like John, David, y'all always talk about how in ASU semis and ASU finals, you like didn't understand how you would pull trigger for MSJ because they didn't extend any warranting or whatever on econ. Well, this is a perfect example in which you did the same thing. You extended the general idea that the economy is harmed with like one card.
Wait, David definitely extended the rebuilding warrant.
I'm still confused on.
I'll get back to you. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I didn't like. Maybe it's just like the mic cut out or whatever. Like I definitely, if it was in summary, it definitely was not in final focus. I just get Locale, which is even in the EU, the economy is harmed. And I get bidirectionality, right? And so.
I was saying, what was their link into state collapse? Was it the economy collapsing?
We had two.
Yeah, that's the one that is most clean for me.
Right. So what David was saying was that I had like terminal defense that I final focus. That was essentially that like because they would continue to unilaterally use the euro, the European Central Bank wouldn't let them fail and would influx money into their economy, which would prevent collapse.
Wait, no, like that's it's not like okay. So the argument is not like as clean as probably we made it out to be, right? Like the Locale evidence, I would contend, like if it's analyzing a scenario in which Catalonia gains independence and still gets to join the EU, probably assumes like EU helps it or whatever.
Oh yeah.
The recession alone and the loss of like 400,000 jobs or whatever, like lowers the cost of conflict. It lowers, like it almost serves as more of a link magnifier into the backlash warrant because it's way more likely that you're going to go against your own state and rebel and have a civil war if you're unemployed and your economy goes to shit. So honestly, in truth, they're not really two separate warrants. It's more like that's a link magnifier.
Well, I mean, I probably disagree. I think it was just trying to ask like how Alan evaluated it. I guess the one thing I'll say on it though is
For me, I'm just like, maybe this is just me as a judge. Like if I understand what you're saying, right? And I'm getting the idea of like what you're saying, and it's like uncontested, like, and it's extended, I'll vote on it, right? The linkage of like why economy collapses, that leads to the Kale, and then economic collapse leads to political instability, that leads to Robuni, which leads to state collapse, which leads to Star, right? The warranting on each step should have been there, but it wasn't. But it's also those parts of the warranting aren't really contested. So I'm fine giving leniency. Like if you're just reading like kind of standard block terms to like the economy won't collapse or like an indite to one card, right? If you're not really contesting the warranting like on the get-go, then I'm fine like voting on it if it's not like super well extended. But that's my personal paradigm. And like this is the general issue. Like this is something I've come to realize as a second speaker. Blocks are great. Right, cards.
Wait, Alan, really quickly, if you don't mind. I think it was just kind of asking like if he gets access to Euro bailout and $21 billion, how do you evaluate a negative ramification into state collapse on the econ? I mean, I guess like
again, comparison. Like I default to like in the round. I default to Macaulay because of the evidence that like it says that like it controls for the EU. But even if it doesn't, like I would buy that. I would buy your CNBC stuff. It was more fleshed out. But like, I also think an easy, like outside of me judging the round, an easy response that John could have made or like David could have made is literally just that like the EU will only intervene after like Catalonia's economy goes to crap. Like it took so many years for the EU to intervene when Greece's debt crisis like became a thing in the early like in this decade. So like I think time frame is an issue just outside of me judging this round. But like at best, I think it is meditatory. I don't think it's like terminal defense. So I still do get some.
Well, yeah, I was literally just gonna say. I mean, like I don't know if this is like helpful, but one, I do like the Kaye weighing is pretty true. In that like even accounting for EU help and then being in the EU, which accounts for your evidence, there would still be a 5-year recession, 350,000 jobs lost, and that's because like they can't just infinitely inject money and solve that for everything. And I also made the weighing in Final Focus, which I don't know, like maybe it wasn't clear, but I definitely did say that like if there's conflict and stuff, or I meant it's written on my flow. If there's conflict, and that there's like backlash and uncertainty, they're not just going to inject money in a state that seceded violently or in a state that is currently like in strife.
Yeah. Win the impact to state, like to violence happening before winning that link, if that was the front line.
Well, I mean, I would say both are sufficient front lines though, right? I mean, the 5-year What's up?
You cut out.
Oh no, I mean, I was saying like, I mean, there are two front lines. A was it was holistic, accounts for it, still triggers 350K 5-year recession due to restructuring. And then B, which is independent of your EU analysis. And B, and also if EU injects money, that definitely doesn't solve back for jobs, which still sufficiently triggers Rubini. And then, yeah.
Also, okay, I do want to talk about this because
really quickly before Alan gets to that, I wanted to answer a question that someone had in the chat. Someone asked, how do you figure out what to extend as defense in the first summary? So for the vast majority of judges that are like on the circuit, the first summary does not need to extend defense on the other team's case because at that point you don't know what they're going for. So like you have a judge.
Let me interject.
You need to respond to like turns that are like offense, obviously. Like you have to respond to all of those in the first summary or do your best to, group those and respond to them. But like terminal defense and mitigation on your case, or sorry, on their case, doesn't need to be extended because you can't really preempt. Like otherwise, like you would just be having to give the rebuttal in 2 minutes instead of 4. Does that make sense? Sujan? I'll wait for that person to respond. Go ahead and say what y'all are going to say. I just wanted to answer that question quickly.
Yeah. So this is an issue that every debater has. I think even the best teams, that even Flanagan, like even Eden, Eden, right? Eden, whatever. Yeah, even Eden has this issue. David, you definitely have this issue. John, to some degree. I have this issue, but I'm trying to get better at it. Devesh is honestly the only one who doesn't necessarily have this issue. I challenge anyone watching this stream to go watch Minneapolis semifinals from 2 years ago. It was Walt Whitman WW versus Hawken EL. That is, I think, like Nathan Whitkin's rebuttal in that round is potentially one of the best rebuttals that I've ever seen. And the reason why is not because it was filled with a bunch of random evidence, but rather because it was analytical responses that were targeting the fundamental assumptions that each argument within Hawkins' case made. So here's why that would have been important in this round. What Unionville does, and honestly what John does too, but to a little bit of a lesser extent because his responses are more analytical. But what Unionville does is they stand up and they just read blocks to they read their top shelf block file to every part of this case. They read like, okay, we have 2 responses on revenue, 2 responses on infrastructure, 2 general responses, right? But you're not ever engaging with like the actual arguments. Like you're not engaging with, you're never responding to the link that like, and this is a super easy link to respond to. You're not responding to this idea that like 350,000 people lose their jobs and that causes a failed state. Like that is the most ridiculous. Like, okay, Audrey Kell was right in quarterfinals of Emory. Like that is a fake debate impact, and just calling them out and just saying that and challenging that internal link, that like hidden like link that is necessary for them to win the argument, but is something that they just kind of assume is the best way to refute this case. Because these analytical responses are also the most difficult to frontline, because if you're pointing out holes in their link chain that persists from case, then chances are they're not going to be able to frontline those holes easily, because if they would have been able to frontline those holes, then they would have been in case in the first place. So yes, cards are good, general responses are good, turns, DAs, whatever, galore are good, but engage with the arguments when you're responding to them versus just reading like, this happens.
Yeah, to be honest, Alan, like when I do rebuttals at like this will probably happen at COCs or like just in general, or like if I won that Emory round, if we won that Emory round against Poly and hit you in semis at Emory, like both of my rebuttals are normally heavy on analytics and very light on cards.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to call you out here.
Yeah, I think it's because this round was so fast. Unlike what I don't think I've ever done a round this fast. So like when I can't process things while they're being spread because I have to focus so much on understanding what's being said.
Oh yeah, I agree. I found myself like not being able to write in my analytics because like in most rounds, like I could in between their responses or in between their points, just like boom, boom, quick analytic front line. But
yeah, I honestly think like if we just were spreading things like, as a whole, it would be a much better debate. Like we would have read 3 contentions, it would have been much less messy. We would have collapsed a lot easier. My rebuttal would have been way more analytical based, and there would have been a lot more weighing. And I think that like our the issue with our counterterrorism thing is that like I never looked over the case. Like neither of us knew the argument well enough to explain it enough because we weren't planning on going for it. And then so like that kind of just turned into shit, like to shit because we had 4 contentions and didn't have either of them, any of them like warranted particularly well. I think that like just reducing the spreading would honestly be like the strat.
Well, I agree. I also think though that like, and again, I'm not calling all out at all. Like you guys are just trying to like match substance. But had it been like, had you added like maybe a sub point to a contention, or had it been like 2 contentions with like more nuance, the debate definitely would have collapsed better because it would have just been made about like link comparison and all that. I think it was just like the amount of like arguments.
I was gonna say I'm with John here. I do think that I would contend that it wasn't the speed that made this round bad, right? It was the collapsing. And like, this is probably my fault because I'm not an experienced like first speaker, and like this isn't like my thought process normally when I'm in a debate round. But after y'all's first summary, I literally had no clue what you were going for. And like looking back on it, Alan is 100% right. I should have just said like, fuck y'all's flow. I'm going in for state collapse because that prereqs all your impacts. I didn't do that. And instead I tried to like kind of cover everything. And like, I think that like speed is fine. If y'all had like gone in on one contention, like I still would have like read a quick summary. Like John would have still read a quick final focus, but it would have been a lot more analysis on that one issue. The issue with this round is not really the speed we were debating. It was just because the speed was everywhere on the flow.
Yeah.
And I think if y'all had like collapsed case down to a sub point, a contention or 2, it would have made the round a lot like clearer. But I don't think that's like on you guys as debaters. I think it's like the structure of the case y'all decided to read. Like I think
we did go for 2 contentions. The reason why it seemed like Dave didn't go for anything in summary is because he went straight down the case because he was frontlining turns and shit.
Yeah, I went. So like, yeah, the summary was kind of in a weird position because what I did was I went top down, but instead of going like for the voters first and then like frontlining turns on the other contentions, I kind of just went like top down. And I started like Civil War and then like tried frontline one of those.
And the problem is there was not like any clear like, okay, I frontlined this at this point, extend blank at this point, and then Because like that's how normally I see like a summary given. It's like it's kind of a clear distinction between what is
So,
a
yeah, you like frontlined a bunch, but I didn't really get extensions, which is why I like the terrorism, because like I literally didn't know. I literally thought you guys were only gonna go for the energy stuff because those are the only like formalized
energy
cars.
the only stuff y'all like yeah, exactly. I was with John. I was like, it seemed like they were trying to go for everything, but like on a technical level, like you still have to be like once you like frontlining an argument isn't extending it. Like you still have to extend the link impact, like the link evidence, the impact evidence, and like
I tried frontlining and kind of extending at the same time, but I think it's better to like delineate the two.
I think you can do both at the same time. You just need to make that distinction really clear when you're crossing the bright line from like I'm frontlining this argument to like I'm going for it.
Yeah.
If I may interject,
Yeah.
two things. So when I know David already said, but I just want to like emphasize it hella because I've judged like a couple tournaments this year, and like almost every round I've judged has this problem of people thinking that like frontlining equals extending. But
yeah.
But like just because I'm not going to name names, but I recall this one round I watched at Emory where this one team was like frontlining and extending, but they didn't extend the inherency that linked into their arguments. Like they didn't even have any offense that they were solving, etc. The main problem I think is that like most teams just are not focusing on like the link level of like I need to extend this specific argument from the contention, right? The biggest problem I see most, again, not hollering, I think most of you didn't have this problem, but the main problem I feel like a lot of teams have, at least in my judging, is they don't do enough extension of the actual warrant substance of their in any individual contention. And they also, when they do extend it, they don't extend specific evidence tags. The second thing, this is more specific to this round, is I feel like this round was super line by line, and line by line is very important, don't get me wrong. And it's very important to win the line by line. But at the same time, it was 2 line by line, right? Like most of y'all, I feel like on both sides throughout this round, and part of the reason why I got so muddled is because y'all were both accessing so heavily on like who accessed this ink or who accessed that ink, right? As opposed to why the ink was important. More macro level, like big picture analysis would be good, right? Because the closest thing I really get to that in the end in both speeches is just like small like weighing analyses attached to the end of arguments saying this outweighs this because X, instead of like an overall like scope of the round weighing analysis at the end that says like they access this, we access that, doesn't matter because even if they access that, we outweigh because X. Which is like something I implicitly drew from the round, but it still could have been more clearly phrased, right?
Yeah, David and I were talking over Facebook, and I think that the biggest thing I would have changed in my final focus would have literally have been to kick the negotiation stuff because it got me nowhere, and then same final focus, but at the end for like 20 seconds, I go, okay, so here's how the round breaks down. We win state collapse, which outweighs the green tech argument because if infrastructure is destroyed, blah, 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 and it outweighs any political distraction argument because like this would be a new political distraction.
Here's the thing. I don't inherently agree with that. It's going in the right direction, I think, but a much more efficient way you could have managed your final focus that would have saved you a lot on word economy is basically throughout your final focus, you intersperse little bits throughout where you're basically saying the war is more important than this argument because X. Either at the beginning or the end of your final focus, you should have just had like a framing argument that said like civil war is more important than like this argument because X, this argument because Y, basically just giving comparative weighing.
That's what John's trying to say. Like, go down and be like, it's more important than renewables because there's no risk of renewables if there's a war. It's more important than refugees because.
Well, I'm just saying that because you said same final because.
My bad.
John meant take that weighing out, I think, as well. Like put it.
Like same final minus redundancies.
I think my like on what you were saying on your first thing, I feel like it's honestly like a problem, like not even with debaters. I think it's just like a structural activity with like public forum and the way that like judging, like in 90% of my rounds, like, and it is because Izzy and I debate like, you know, in a more like lay region, even when we go to like bid tournaments, but like the majority of our rounds are like not like no one is extending cards in summary. Like there's so much of PF happens at this level of like, I'm the idea of my contention.
Honestly, this is like unpopular opinion for like John or whatever, but this is how I think most PF judges are. Like, I think if you're extending the warranty, like, why do you need the card? Wait,
Alan, normally I would agree with you, but there are certain instances, right? Like, per se, that type of extension was done in this round. That would have made things a lot more unclear because there were specifics in the pieces of evidence that were extended.
Right.
Fair.
I'm like,
super important for me.
Well, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to not evaluate an argument because, like, I don't get the name Mortimer.
Wait, Alan, I agree.
In final focus when I'm like, okay, but this is what they're extending. Like, this is the idea, and this is the argument that they're extending. Now, and like, even if like you say like, and that's why we impact to a 45% increase in the probability of civil war, right? like I think I can still evaluate that with you without you saying the word star.
Well, let me clarify. What I'm not saying that like I won't evaluate that because that's just not true, right? I'll evaluate an argument if said by that. I'm saying it can be problematic in instances in which the specifics of the card, like something super specific.
No, I completely agree. If like there is dispute over the card, or the card is meant to be like encompassing of different arguments, or like what the card says is very important in its nuance, then yes, you definitely need to be clear about it. I'd like to just say a few things. Hunter Conrad has been asking a few questions. So the first thing he asked is, more holistically, when you say frontline should be embedded in cases, how do we edit cases after each tournament to solve back for this? So the way you do that is you, first of all, you keep all of your flows after the tournament. And after the tournament, you look through and you see, okay, what were the common responses to our argument? You also watch out rounds if you aren't like advancing far into the tournament, and you're watching other teams that may be reading similar arguments to you, and you see how their opponents respond to those arguments. Then what you do is, or at least what we do in the Ultimate lane is, we try to, within our block file, we create like a frontline section, or we just kind of think of like the common front lines. We try to write our cases so that the evidence and kind of like how we frame the debate like encompasses most, or can like implicitly frontline, or what we call spike, most responses. So I think a good example of this would be on the September topic about South Korea, North Korea. Like on AF, we ran this, like one of our arguments we ran is like missile defense works. And like the neg would always read like artillery, like can't be stopped by artillery or whatnot. So we just cut a card, then we put it in there that says that missile defense also solves for artillery. And then like a lot of times in like Mission San Jose does this a lot, like Devesh and Ishan does this a lot. A lot of teams do this. You'll hear things like, even if X is true, like that's a spike, because they're expecting the opponents to make a response, and you're getting ahead of that response by saying on the outset, like, this is why, like,
there was a great example of that in this round. Like, for example, like when we wrote this case for like the topic, like we knew that one of his biggest arguments on the topic was that neg teams would always say, oh, Catalonia won't be able to join the EU. Like, that's like, you know, that's like one of the stockest arguments of the topic. So Alan found this card. It said that even without joining the EU, like we don't even make an EU argument in case. Like, I don't know if you caught that. We never said anything. Well, I guess we technically did at the bottom part, but in our stock case that we actually ran, we never talked about the EU on the neg, but we still read a card that said that even if Catalonia does join the EU, econ harms still get triggered, because we wanted to spike or preempt people saying, oh, well, they'll get to join the EU, and that solves back for all of your econ harms. Like, there's an example of that in this round.
And I think a way that you can do this without like having to like, you know, have a section of your case dedicated to spiking is think about your general strategy and how it might interact with the other side. The best example, I think two really good examples of this were on our March topic cases, but like March is still being debated some places, and I'm still salty about that quals, so I don't want to talk about that too much. What I will talk about though is February, because I think February is a very good example of how strategy could very easily win rounds. The Ultimate Lanes app was about like creating jobs. We had 4 warrants into creating jobs. Now,
do you run jobs?
What?
I loved when people ran jobs on February. Was this for capital gains, right?
Yeah.
I loved when people ran jobs.
Yeah.
I would be very interested in being neg against.
Yeah. So everyone ran jobs, right? But like, and like people would just read like standard impacts to jobs, but that's not necessarily the most strategic route to get to the ballot, because you know most negs are going to be about inequality. Now, as the topic progressed, like yes, there were a lot of like con arguments that started talking about like recessions and bubbles. Like that's a separate thing. But like I was basically the night before Golden Desert. Like John and David called me. He's like, "Hey, we don't have an AF case. Like, can you sit down and like help us write one?" And then like I was just like thinking about this, and I was like, "What's a really big impact in the U.S. economy right now that like could be linked to the capital gains tax. And I'm like, well, most of the literature I've cut talks about how investment jobs, and like my standard knowledge of econ is just like more investment from less taxation means more business activity, means more jobs. So I'm like, okay, I want to run jobs. Why are jobs important? And then I remember like watching this Vox video about like the middle class squeeze and just like this idea that the middle class's wages have stagnated over the past several decades, and like the middle class jobs are shrinking even as jobs in the lower and upper classes are increasing. Now, that's very common knowledge, and that's kind of like the thesis of most negs about inequality. Like growth is increasing, but it isn't going towards like the majority of America. So I'm like, okay, so I have this idea that the middle class is experiencing this squeeze right now. It's being harmed, and the root of it seems to be bad wages and bad jobs, or no job, or like not having available jobs. So then I'm thinking, okay, so can we link this together to short circuit kind of the neg? Because we know every neg or most negs are going to be talking about inequality.
Wait, Alan.
But if we can, well, just one second. If we can control the link into inequality with job creation, then we can start easily very most neg offense.
Can I just want to say one quick thing really quick? Sorry, John, just before I go.
It's cool, bro.
And in terms of spikes, reread your cards after tournaments, because 90%, at least in my experience, 90% of the time there is something that like the study accounts for that like spikes out a lot of arguments.
Yeah.
Adios.
All right. I'm gonna bounce as well. Unionville, thank y'all for a good round. Is Zach still in here? No. All right. Thanks, Alan. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, I mean, David, we all and other David left. Okay, we got to run some Fortnite squads sometime.
Yeah.
Yo, my stuff's frozen. Alan.
Yes.
Okay, are you gonna stay on this, or should we bounce to the other thing that we were gonna work on today, or like what's going?
Bounce and work on that other thing. Give me like 10 minutes though. I just need to like log out of do a few things. And then I'll call you.
Okay, sure.
Call you on Skype because I know you like Skype.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just gonna, I guess, make some final comments before I hop off, if you don't mind. So for the 37 people that are still watching, yeah, so I mean, I messaged each other. So I guess just to like summarize the round, just takeaways. I would say that having, two contentions, I'm against 3 contentions. I would say 2 contentions with a consolidated narrative is probably the way to go, in terms of writing PF cases. In terms of blocks,
Aff or neg means. Like, tell the judge from the onset why.
Yeah, I think Bilal, the archery Cal coach, for those of you who don't know, might have said probably one of these like best like pieces of advice. It's like with most judges, like the paper that they're falling on doesn't matter. Like if they don't want to vote for you, they don't have to vote for you. So telling a compelling story and giving them a reason why to vote for you is probably the best way to win rounds. I would also say that in terms of rebuttal, just make sure that like having some quicker responses is fine, but just make sure that you have some well-warranted responses to thrown in the mix. Like make sure you can explain like if like hypothetically, if someone were to press you on each of your responses, they shouldn't be like so blippy to the point where you wouldn't be able to explain them. Like your response should have some fragment or some, I guess, like element, like it should be warranted in a way that you'd be able to explain to the average person and still look sensible. And then finally, I would just say, like Maya said, don't get lost in the technicalities. Like I guess I'm known for being like one of the more technical debaters on the circuit, which is, I guess, ironic for me to be saying this, but like, I go very line by line, but yeah, like I tried to do in Final Focus, don't get lost in the line by line and just take a step back and tell the story. Anyways, I'm going to bounce. Good job to both of y'all. Thanks, Alan. Peace.
Yeah. Thanks for having the round.
Yeah. And just for like, I think who's left? Me, Dave, and Alan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that what we traditionally do we didn't get to do it on this time, like for this round particularly, we did do it with the, renewable energy thing is we always like structure our cases to where we pick an argument and we always go for that argument. And from rebuttal, I'll start weighing in terms of I'll always weigh in like 3 different ways, starting from rebuttal. I don't know why. Not a lot of weird shit happened this round where we just like I spread like unwarranted shit, which is just like not like me, and then didn't do the weighing. I always start in our case. It was just like a weird round. I don't even know, but I would say like just in general, like for anyone watching, like for every honestly, like the most important aspect of like going into a round, I'd say even more important than coming up with blocks and whatever, is like structuring your cases in a strategic way that you have a dominant strategy. So like, or comparative, like it both works. So like a comparative strategy case would be somewhere in which like you have multiple different links, multiple different arguments, and what you go for depends on what the other team's running. And like sometimes we do that as well if it's hard to access a big impact in like a feasible way without running like dual use ports or something like that, where you just like nonsense. But like specific, like if but what we traditionally have like started to do is like run one argument that we know the impact just outweighs everything, and then get really, really good at frontlining and weighing it, and then just do the same formula every single round. And obviously, like the warranting will change in relation to like the different responses you get. But I think that like just making a dominant strategy is honestly like something that's helped me a ton this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone else have any last minute questions? I can stay on for like a few more minutes. Senior, also for anyone who's a junior or younger, let me just tell you, like all of the rumors are true. Senior year, second semester is a blast, especially if you get into a college ED. So ED to a college that you really like. That way you can take the stress off second semester, and you can do lots of extra debate stuff.
Or you can be like me and just don't do anything. That's been the issue. Done 0 things.
There's a competitor to VBI rankings.
What?
Oh, on the subreddit?
With the NSD rankings? Or?
Yeah, NSD, but Ben Kessler.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
David and John were talking about how those rankings are pretty good.
I haven't looked at the actual rankings yet.
We're like 50 something. Like not terrible. Oh, NDS is new. Oh, PPF ranking. Let's do this.
All right. Well, I think if everyone has no more questions, then we got a couple more in. What's the best way to know more about a topic before a round? Definitely just like reading shit, because
that's not very.
No, it is, because like
no. A lot of times, think about the topic. Like, look up like YouTube. Like Vox videos are great. Even for things that you think are like unrelated to the topic. Okay, here's what I was just about to lay into like Ben Kessler and NSD for like their flawed methodology of their rankings, but like he's also a very smart guy, and he gave probably some of the best advice I've ever gotten in terms of like thinking of like in strategizing with arguments that I've ever gotten. And his idea is that you start with this big impact. Like you start with what am I thinking is like the biggest issue that is could even be tangentially related to like this topic. And then from there, I think if that's the biggest idea, the biggest like issue, then how could we potentially link into it? Again, like I like on the Feb topic, because that like seems close. That is a good example of this. On the Feb topic, again, I was like, well, I guess political power, honestly, and like shrinking power in the SWO is probably the biggest issue. Like, just political inequality is the biggest issue in the round. So I'm thinking, how can we link into this on the app? And I think it's pretty simple. Like, you create more jobs than that and better wages. You create wage competition, which then creates an upward spiral, and you bolster the middle class, and a stronger middle class has more bargaining power and more political power. And so it's just thinking of like big picture ideas and then developing a strategy based on what you think is the biggest idea, and then kind of doing like a flow chart. Like Ben would talk about how you just do a flow chart of like the biggest impact down to like how you could link into those arguments. And like a great example of how he did that like Stuyvesant KU did that, is their NCFL 2015 case about just the Green Revolution or like diffusion of best practices. Kind of an out there argument, but it does make sense because you logically think about it. I hate to say it, but there is a reason why seniors and juniors do far better than freshmen and sophomores. And it's not just because they have more experience debating, but it's also because they've taken more classes. Like,
it's learning, literally just like you being able to spontaneously pull up analytics in round and just understand arguments and their nuances more is like everything in terms of, especially being a second speaker, but just in general, like there's just no other advantage you can concur. And I think that like the best way to be able to do that if you haven't taken more classes is just like literally just immerse yourself in the literature. Like for the Catalonia topic, like we learned all about like the politics of Catalonia and like what traditionally like the history of that and like specifically like how what the political culture is, how that functions in like the context of like politics, so we can understand arguments in that context, like things like that. Like that's how we like constructed a lot of the arguments in the topic.
It's basically the end goal is to do your best to not get roasted in Crossfire, and the best way you can do that is just like doing basic research on each topic. So for example, the April topic, how I mostly began my prep after going through all like the policy back files from 2010 was that I go into like sites like New York Times or like Washington Post and I just type in H-1B visa. And then I like read the articles that have to pertain to that. So it can get me like a history of the topic and get me what's happening now and overall like a sense of the environment. So I know what's happening and like I'm able to get context for the entire debate.
Yeah. Google scroll in terms of researching a topic. Also, if you're a freshman and sophomore, even a junior looking to plan out future class schedules, take U.S. history or take world history or European history. European history is the best out of those, but take history classes like European, U.S. history, great classes. Take things like maybe human geography or comparative government, like all of those like kind of social science classes. Econ is the best class that you can take to prepare yourself for debating. Like I started taking IB Econ last year. And like, not only did I discover it's kind of like a passion for me, and that's what I'm studying in college is economics, hopefully. But it's also just like, it's so relevant on almost every topic. And the notions behind like decision-making processes by actors, like in the real world, which it's kind of guided by economics, is applicable on every topic. And like analytics are just so easy for me now because I can understand economics like really well. So definitely take social science classes. When you're, if you can and if it fits your schedule. In terms of researching topics, it's hard because, I think there's a few good ways to do this. I think the first of all is learning under like a mentor. This is not an option that's available to many people, and it's something that I kind of want to make available. Like I've thought about this and I kind of want to do it of like, just posting some of my old back files, like my old block files, because the way I learned how to prep was basically doing like a kind of block file pastiche of San Jose. So when I was a sophomore, missions like Max Wu, Keshav, they were the first team we debated, like my partner and I debated together at the UOP Invitational. They discovered me that I was Captain Aga at that tournament, but they also took me under their wing. And like I learned a lot from like Max, Keshav, Devesh, just like prepping with them that year. Like I saw how they did prep and how they cut cards, and there's no way to explain it other than like when you're watching someone do prep or you're even just reading old prep, and then you can start to kind of pick up on like different techniques or different ways that like PFers might cut cards or look for cards. Although there are a lot of bad practices now, so be wary of that. Google Scholar is your friend. Google's great. Google Scholar is better. And using parentheses to find cards about arguments that you've thought of that you enjoy are really, really useful. In terms of bypassing paywalls, use LiveGen or Sci-Hub. You can do any article for free.
Yeah.
And then also something that I really enjoy doing, no one else does this but me. I'm roasted for it. Yes, books. I get so much crap from people, but ever since last year's Cuba topic, I would go my local library like has a program where I can order any book for free from any university library. And yes, you can get most books on like online now using Sci-Hub. And that's chill, right? I still like the hard copy. It's also cool for like perceptual dominance, especially in front of lay judges. And there are like a lot of judges like Brandon Garrett who like geek out when it like he calls for a card and it's like from a book. And it's also a great conversation starter. But like books have some of the best evidence ever. Like academic like books published that may cost hundreds of dollars to buy on Amazon. You can get from free from your local library. And they just provide so much good evidence because books are better than articles because books have to cover every single element of like a specific issue. Last year on the Cuba topic, we got this a book from I forgot her name. It was someone from Huddleston of the Brookings Institution. The book was called Learning to Salsa or Learning to Tango or something. And it covered every aspect of the Cuba topic. We got our best cards from that book. And it won us so many rounds. On the April topic, we got this book that was published by Schumacher. And it gave us some of our best and worst arguments. It was a book dedicated to discussing the Electoral College and the direct popular vote, comparing the two. And it had a chapter dedicated to literally every argument on the topic. Like it was made for debaters. There's a chapter about how media coverage of elections would change based on like shifting from the Electoral College to direct popular vote. So much great in-depth evidence that is also very clear. You do get roasted. Like if you actually do this, like, and I love it. Like if I was a judge and if I call for a card that is from a book and you give me a book and it's not the CIA fact book because that's something people use and it's BS. I will give you a 30 next year. But no, like it's a fun thing. It's a fun gimmick. Debaters might get mad at you. Like Grace Waitena from Nuevo roasted me on Twitter, but it's all chill. Like it's a fun conversation starter and it's a fun thing to do. And like if you get crap that wins you rounds and like nothing else matters.
Yeah. I remember I'd never seen you at a tournament before. Right, I think I've seen you before, but the first round I watched by you was the Emory semis round, and I remember walking in, and not only did you have that giant cake, but I also remember seeing like a stack of probably 5 books just right next to you, and I thought that was the funniest thing, and I just knew you did all your prep.
Yeah, no, it is perceptual dominance for sure. That semifinals round though was like not the greatest thing because I can talk about that at some point. I feel like a lot of people have seen or heard about that round, and that round is not how Hana and I normally debate, and it's not how debate should happen. But like, we'll talk about that later if like somebody wants to. Does anyone else? Okay. How do you hop over them paywalls for Google Scholar? So
I already linked it. I don't know.
So there's something called Sci-Hub.
Yeah.
Just Google Sci-Hub, SCI-HUB, or LiveGen, LIBGEN. And both of those you can put it like they're Russian like owned websites, but they won't give you viruses. If you just put in the name or the DDoI or the link of any article that you want, and it'll find it and unlock it for you.
No, it was after the article.
Do you write blocks word for word or just the general idea and the cards tags? So this depends. I used to be like a tag person, and then I'd write all of the tags down on my flow, and then I'd be like, dope, I got all of my tags written on my flow, and then I can just like I can just read those off my flow. But like I would waste so much prep time doing that.
Yeah.
And then I switched in like the beginning of this year. Let me pull up one of my old block files.
So I want to know this because this is something I've been having because I'm normally like second speaker with my other partner. So one thing I've had trouble with is if I'm going to like write out all my blocks and I'm going to read that in rebuttal, I don't have anything on my flow except for analytics.
Dude, same.
So I don't know how to like.
I just don't write them down. Like actually, I never write anything down that I'm not going to extend if it's off of my block file.
So let me actually let me get rid of the capital advertisement.
I just copy and paste all my blocks, and then what I'll put on like the flow is literally just like an arrow, and then like in all caps, like I'll write out the word block, just so I know. And then like if I do have an issue with that, it's like the most inefficient way ever, and I'm super bad at flowing. But like if I basically, wow, what is going on?
Okay, just okay, so let me pull up my block file from like Emory. This is
For Jackson, analytics are just like logical responses that I mean, they're just like logical responses that you think of in round, like just issues with the argument on like a face value level.
So this is our Emory block file. There's a lot of blocks here. So here, yeah, let's go to, yeah. Why don't we go to EU? No, not EU. Those were like pretty messy. Why don't we go to, yeah, this is a good one that I wrote during the tournament because Walt Whitman was reading it. So yeah, here, like I have like, actually no, let's go back to EU. Let's start at EU because that's a very good example. So yeah, this is the only time I like memed around because I was like pretty angry when I wrote this block. But what I had here is like, we have a lot of responses. We do not read all of these in any round, but like notice how we have these separated. So this is an overview that like Sam Wood wrote for us. He coaches like David Zell and I, and just kind of like a thing that we could read or parts of. But like notice how we have a random advantage that like like we read refugees in the app, and so like we extended like this is just EU would justify letting Catalonia into the EU to accept refugees. That gives us an independent impact here. So like notice how that's separate as an advantage to like this like link defense because they're different types of responses. And this is I think a really smart way to organize blocks because I think a lot of times teams just read contradictory responses or just read redundant responses. So like, let's go to secession inevitable. So each of these are like different types of responses. They have different like functions. And so that way I know like, okay, if I want to read link defense to the argument, I can go down here and like I can find like different types of link defense. I'm like, okay, chill. But if I maybe want to impact turn it, or read some sort of solvency, then I don't read the link defense, and I can like scroll down here, and it's like nice and separated for me. Now all of this, the rhetoric was written out, and what I did, let me pull up like a example speech doc. This one was good. I wrote this up during the round. Like I didn't have a prep out or anything, but this is what my speech doc in quarterfinals of Emory looked like. Like what I would do is I would just like send over like I would flow their case and then I would think about their case, think about analytics, and I would write down the analytics on the flow. And then what I would do is I would go to my block file and then I'd say like, okay, they read it like inevitability. So I'll take like this block and then I'll press this button up here, which is like send to rebuttal. Mm-hmm. And then it would go to this doc here. And then like what I would do is before I would go up into my speech, I would write down on my flow like a general tag, like a one-word tag for the response. And so that way I'd be able to like follow the flow, or I'd be able to follow the on my flow, I'd be able to like know and extend arguments later on in the round because I'd be able to recognize like what block I read, but I wouldn't have to like take so much time writing down, like waste prep time writing down what I'm actually saying on my flow, and I would read off the computer. Now I do something kind of like in between, depending upon the judge. Like I'll have my computer open, but I'll also have most of my blocks memorized. But like in this quarterfinals round specifically, like I wrote up some of the analytics and some of the weighing here. So like, yeah, like I wrote this up in the round. Like in that, like that's like weighing and just like comparison that I like start on the outset of like rebuttal and didn't. And like I sometimes change things, like I cut down maybe like, oh, I don't need this, like this is redundant, so I can like cut it. And then like that way I can also manage word count, which was like insanely high for this doc. How are people able to give hella carded rebuttals without using computers?
Honestly, writing down the cards like that, it's not like memorization. It's just like it's just writing cards onto the flow and like being familiar enough with your evidence that like just writing a tagline in like one word is enough that you can know the response. So it's just a lot of work. I remember like sophomore year, it was like the first time that I called to CFLs. I wasn't with David, I was with Alex. And that's like PW is our code. So like we had Sam Wood and Chase Brady. So RG Cal BW. When we were sophomores, I think it was a junior senior team. And then so like Chase in his rebuttal just didn't look down at his flow once. Just stared into the soul of the judge and just gave a rebuttal to our speech. That he memorized our arguments, he memorized all of his responses, all of his cards, and just like perceptually was so impressive that like I think there's merit to like writing down stuff on your flow and just not bringing your laptop up because it just perceptually seems like you know what you're doing, but like it's kind of easier to just do it on your laptop.
I think it's how familiar you are with the topic. Like when you have the same round over and over again, like eventually you know the responses and how they interact. In like fast rounds though, like I read off my computer, because if we're going fast, the judge probably doesn't care about like perceptual dominance too much. Not like that I'm reading off my computer. And B, like I'm just more efficient if I'm reading the rhetoric versus like trying to think of the rhetoric at the same time and like maybe being redundant time to time.
Yeah, I write it out too for that reason. Yeah.
If that's it, then
do you recommend flowing on a computer or on paper? Paper all the way.
Yeah, I do paper.
I do.
Ben Carr is the only debater that I know personally who flows on computer, and like I think he switched to paper. Even like paper is just
I tried doing my computer for a little bit, but like it's just so like annoying because you have to constantly switch between like speech docs and flows, and if you can kind of like incorporate that into one, then like you have a strat that works for it. That's fine. But for me personally, if I'm like copying and pasting front lines and stuff like that, then I'm going to read. It's like very difficult for me to do that. And also it's just easier to like it's more organized with a flow. This
is what like our flows look like. Even David's flow looked like. Someone asked what they look like.
Okay. But yeah, so if I'm able to have like everything in front of me at once and not have to be on my computer and like switching through multiple things at one time, that allows for me to be more organized during my speeches. So yeah, I just like having, so I can have like your arguments, my arguments, like things that I'm going to read in front of me and things like that. I don't know. It's just like organizationally, I think it's better.
Yeah. Somebody asked about cards in case. So I'm going to get roasted for this. I have before. Last year, LaQuarrie Valley I basically wrote our cases. I still do for the most part. Sorry, John and David, they know it's true. I love y'all though. But I used to write it like this. Like I would write it from the actual cards, and then like that would be, and then like maybe we'd clean up some rhetoric, like when we created the like read version, and like this would be easy because it's like not really paraphrasing, so you don't have to deal with like Strake Jesuit or kids like that, or like Ben Shahar, who are going to read theory against you. You can, and it's also just kind of like efficient. I don't know. It's kind of easy, especially when you're like trying to make sure you have all the cards for your case. That being said, like people like to roast me because yes, I do use a lot of brackets. Like tell me where I'm changing the meaning of the card, and I'll like clarify something. Like yeah, there's a bracket. Cool. I think bracketing is better than like paraphrasing. But yes, we do paraphrase our
theory is good.
We are switching over. Yeah, no, there are I was talking to Chris Shear about this in India. Like there are justifications theoretically as to like why paraphrasing could be good. But no, at TFC again this year, like Altamont Lane will be reading like hardened cases like this. This is our TFC AF. Right, the first draft of our AF from last year, so is way longer and way sillier. This is our famous civic journalism argument. It's like this is a card from a book, right? Like, where else would you find a card that says like historic electoral change to a direct popular vote system would enhance people's attention to the presidential race, provide a window for discussing coverage reforms even temporarily, and it would create a civic journalism movement, right? And this is the most ghetto stuff. I just Googled civic journalism when I saw that, and it turns out it's this big movement or whatever that has so many cool impacts attached to it. So I'm like, cool, we could read this as a time suck, and we won rounds off of this stuff. This is also a great example of like an embedded front line, because like even up here in the evidence it says like could at least temporarily enhance people's attention, but then down below it's like, okay, even if structural changes in coverage do not follow. Okay, so even if this is only a short-term boost, like discussing media reform, it bolsters the civic journalism movement, which is like a wider issue that's taking shape now because of like discussion of like fake news, and that's this Tully evidence right here. So, and this is like also an example of like ridiculous arguments that have like evidence back behind them, but I don't really have a warrant. Like this Cornwall card does not have a warrant, so you kind of had a BS one in the round.
I like very much like just like getting carded versions of people's cases before the round. Like I remember in court we had like Anson Fung or whatever for quarters at Emory, and like I was Dave, and so like we got a carded. We basically, because we had that judge had to disclose a carded version of our case before the round, and like we got a carded version of Polly's case in that quarters round, and like my rebuttal like was like 2 times as good, I think, because I had that case with me. So like I could literally look at the cards and respond to the internal like assumptions and warrants that the cards were making, as opposed to like the paraphrasing that was going on like in the case. So it was a lot easier for me to make a cohesive and responsive rebuttal because of disclosure. So I very much like am for, especially if you're running fake arguments, like disclosure kind of takes the credibility out of a lot of those, and I know a lot of people in PF do that.
Okay. Yeah, somebody asked about Mission KW, and it's funny you mentioned them. Like I do have, since I worked with them when they were still like debating in junior year, like I do have, like you just saw a bunch of my back files. But this is like Matt's speech doc from round 2 of TOC, which is the recording of which is up online. Matt's, I don't think you should like really care. If you do, I apologize. But like, yeah, what they did is similar to like what I had, which like what I have with my speech docs, but it's a little bit different. Matt's would flow. Like, I can't even read this stuff. Like I've been like bored in class, and I've tried to open up his flows and understand like where he flows. But like he kind of like flows here and types on the computer, and then like, but it's not actually like flow. He kind of like flow in his head, I guess. But then he would just like write up analytics and like write up what he would do. He's a very fast typer, very good at like kind of like sneaking in prep, and then also just copying and pasting a lot of like pre-written blocks. So like obviously like he wouldn't like write up this giant block like in the middle of the round. He'd just copy and paste it. And then like this is what he'd read, and then in Final Focus, this is what his Final Focus would look like right here. Just to like kind of like create kind of like this outline. So that's how he would handle rebuttals. And then like an example, let me look. Let's see. An example of like how they would handle front lines. This is from the refugee topic. Yeah, so this is how this is the file that Max would write for Keshav, and like whatnot. So I just like have like the important cards in their case and like a tag of what this like what it would say, and then like as some additional cards that they could throw in some front lines like right here, and then they'd have like weighing somewhere. Sometimes they'd put in like different weighing mechanisms. This is back when Mission did prep. Give you an idea.
All right. Yeah, it's like close to 1 a.m. here. So we're gonna peace out, but this was fun, and definitely be down for a rematch at some point after everyone else has gotten the opportunity to take part in this.
Yep. see. So yeah, I also probably need to go. I do have a Mandarin test tomorrow. I needed to do work with John as well. But yeah, I'd like to turn this thing into like something regular for people to enjoy and people to just ask questions if they are. If you have any other questions, feel free to message me. My name's Alan Abbott. Feel free to message me on on Facebook, or just PM me on Reddit. Like I'm always able, like, and willing to answer questions.
Yes. Put anyone up.
Oh, somebody asked, how do I share evidence with other teams if it's in a book? Well, if they're in round, I just give them the book and like underline, and they're usually like pretty flabbergasted. When I like hand them a book, I might just read it, so underline right there. And like I have a little piece of paper that tells me like which page at each cut of the like I've cut from is. For John and David though, I either get them a copy of the book for them to carry around, or I'll take pictures of the book and put it in our block file and do like evidence rules is like 3 pages before, 3 pages after, according to NSDA or something like that. Or it's like 1 page before, 1 page. I forget. But like we provide context and the book, and I put it in the part of like the block file. Benjamin, yeah, I'm Captain Aga. And yeah, my name is ALLEN ABBOTT. If you want to like Facebook message me, that's probably the best way to reach me. And also, just again, in case you haven't seen it, like this entire video, PF videos is debate. And if you're looking for a camp, because NDF is waitlisted, and Capital is a really awesome staff and is also in Boston and will give you lots of individualized attention, please give us a look, capitaldebate.com. If you like what we talked about in this video, expect a lot more of that, but on an individual one-on-one level in person at Capital Debate. With that, have a great evening, everyone.
Yeah.
All right.